putting on Icy Hot or Ben Gay after your pores have been opened by a hot shower?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be
Oh,
honest.
you'd know. If you'd done it, you would know. Because when I think of Icy Hot, I think of a mistake that no one had taught me, that if you open up the pores and then start putting in Ben Gay or one of those things, it's going to be well past unpleasant.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. I've been dealing with this lower back, like sciatica type pain going on. So I have to put Icy Hot like very low on like my left cheek. You know what I mean? Like butt cheek, not like facial cheek, right? And like there's obviously an area there that if Icy Hot gets into,
You got to be careful.
very dangerous
game.
Yeah, so I have to be very careful with the Icy Hot application.
Not baby worthy.
Yeah.
It's not. No. It's the opposite. You got to be careful. You don't. It's not erotica. It's.
But it could be.
Well,
That's what Greg was saying.
There's no way to know. I mean, I've never had the Icy Hot
Cheap
there.
thrill.
Yeah.
Affects everyone differently.
All right, put it on the
That's
poll,
right.
Guillermo. Do you imagine that Icy Hot around your groin area is a cheap thrill?
Not the area I was worried about, honestly.
Well, I'm just undercarriage. I'm just making the general region. Thank you. Thank you for being so subtle all around it, and then just getting right up in there. Thank you, Billy.
Well, that's what we're trying to avoid
Yes,
with the
yes.
Icy Hot.
You are trying to avoid everything down there, I would say, is something that you're trying to avoid with the Icy Hot. I'm marveling at how you have landed like a javelin in dadhood. That you,
amazing.
Billy, you got old so fast. You pole vaulted.
I love it. I've been preparing my whole life to have an excuse to be as old as I am.
You pole vaulted into old age so happily. You're like, hey, I've got a kid now. I now have all the excuses to be the guy who wakes up with a bad back, worried that he's going to slather some Icy Hot on his butthole.
And if I don't use my wedge pillow, oh, Christ almighty, I can't get anything done that day. You like a good wedge pillow, Dan? You know a wedge pillow? Do you guys not know wedge pillows?
What is that?
It's a little bit of a harder pillow to hold on to, is it? Instead of
No, it's an angled pillow. I want to say it's like a 36-degree angled pillow, and it's pretty firm, so you lay on it. But I've been told by my wife, the old ball and chain, that if you put a pillow on your wedge pillow, you're doing it wrong. So that may be contributing to my back issues.
the wedge pillow is something that came into your life with marriage, with the new pillows, new life?
No, this has actually been in my life for some time, but I haven't had the confidence to discuss the wedge pillow. I have back pain, something that has been happening, and they're not sponsors anymore. So some of these free mattresses that we were sent, you know,
No.
But they might be back.
No.
Yeah.
No.
they were great. They were great. They
always
solved all
come
my
back.
problems.
Great mattress.
I want to talk about what I think, Stugotz, is the story from last night's football. And the Mannings are going to figure that out. And that's going to be a thing that gets a good deal better, because when athletes, some athletes, I know that these guys are doing it very much their way, but when many athletes like Dwayne Wade get into broadcasting, they do it with a willful zeal that makes them work the way that they did when they were athletes. They're not treating it as some side hustle, easy money. They're trying to be good at it. And finally, somebody has taken the chance in mainstream media. I think that that can get good enough that it could be the preferred experience one day.
It's good. It will get better. I watched a bit of it last night. I kind of like, at least early on, the sloppiness of it. There's an entertainment value of watching the Mannings interview Gronk when you know Rodgers is going to throw to the end zone and Gronk has 12 seconds to answer and tell a story that Peyton wants to, and then Peyton needs to interrupt them because the touchdown happened. They need to announce that, tell you why it happened. And then Gronk starts telling the story again, but they have to go to break, so he gets cut off. Like, I love all of it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you like the sloppiness because then it gives you an excuse to then be sloppy.
No, but they'll find their footing. Like, I'm with Dan. That's going to get better. The two of them are very, very smart. They're entertaining. They're funny. They obviously have good chemistry. They're brothers, and they're pulling in guests the entire game. It's like they can get Brady. They can get Gronk. They can get Ray Lewis. They can get whoever they want. They're the Mannings.
I think the more imperfect and the more unpolished it is, the better, because it has an experimental quality to it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but also it's a lot of pressure on Peyton Manning to both be the smartest man on the broadcast. He's clearly like, I think it's very obviously a vehicle for him. Eli's kind of along for the ride, but Peyton is like, I'm going to nerd out on football stuff. But at the very least, they got thrown to commercial break down last night. That was an upgrade over week one. And very clearly, like, the production company and ESPN got together on some notes to make this thing a more seamless experience for the viewer. Like, sometimes sloppy is fun, but sometimes sloppy is just sloppy, which is what it was in week one for me.
When they have someone like Gronk on, my suggestion would be just show the game. The game's there. We could see it. You don't need to break down every single thing if you're paid. Just talk to Gronk and then come back to that play if you want to later.
I would just say to you guys that I'm not looking at whatever has happened in week one or week two and made it mean anything other than, oh, that's going to work. They are going to figure that out. They're going to make all the mistakes. This is not, you don't do trial runs, pilots, nothing. It's these two rookies, two television rookies.
In separate rooms.
Sit them down, have chemistry. And what I'm telling you is they're going to figure out all of that on Disney's dime and on ESPN's dime, because Disney has made an enormous investment that it must to stay in these spaces where you create ancillary incomes. Did you just see that the Lakers are putting on their uniform a South Korean food maker on the Laker uniform? It's the biggest international, biggest global sponsorship of its kind that you've seen like this. $100 million for 5 years to put on a product that's not an American product, that is a, it's not a known thing in the United States that people will associate with South Korean cuisine, I don't think, until now.
Right.
Babingo, I had never heard of it. Bibingo. And this is what's happening. Increased revenue streams. They're going to figure that out. The thing that I wanted to marvel at from within that, and we can get back to the broadcast pioneering, because I've wanted to see that for a while. And 2 games in, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, they are absolutely going to have the support and the resources they need and the will and the care of figuring that thing out. I want to marvel for a moment at the balls on Pat McAfee. Leaves punting the NFL as a professional player to bet on himself.
It's amazing.
Leaves football. A punter ain't getting on ESPN2 as a personality with the Mannings in week 2 when they're trying to show you something. The Mannings reached out to McAfee and put him with Gronk and Russell Wilson from last week and some of these people because they're like, this dude's entertaining. This is my friend from Indianapolis. This guy has been good at everything he's chosen, Stugotz. I think he's doing that show out of his garage.
I think so, yeah.
And it's satellite.
He also brings an audience, Dan. That's another reason to have him on.
He's built that audience, is what I'm telling you. He has been a mercenary. He has dominated the media game. He goes through Barstool. He uses ESPN as a play toy. He's using Sirius XM. He's putting his guys together. What an amazing thing that dude has done. Stugotz, nobody's willing to make the change of, I'm going to leave what my identity has been. And he's like, no, man, my identity is not professional sports played as a punter.
Right.
My identity is I'm going to entertain you, and I can't do it enough as a punter.
Really at its core, because it's not the former NFL guy. He's got great connections. It's not that he played in the NFL. He was a punter, as you pointed out. He's really entertaining. The show is really good. He's high energy. He gets great guests. He has good co-hosts. He has good ideas, good producers. It's a fantastic show, and you're right, to bet on yourself. I'm not even
doing the shows, Stugotz. That's not even what I'm doing.
Well, his whole career is fantastic.
I'm looking at the bet that he made. He's punting. That's a cushy gig, man.
Yeah.
That's a great job. Mm-hmm. And most people, you see a lot of them retiring early. That sport hurts, and he was at the position.
What else are they going to do? They're punters.
But look at what he did.
That's what I'm saying.
He ended early betting on himself. And he's got gigs all over the place, and he's spinning media plates, every entity. He's not beholden to anybody.
By the age of 33, he made 7 figures in 3 different careers.
And there's also longevity in being a punter, unlike in being a place kicker. And you punt 5 times a game, and you get that check. Is he the first celebrity punter, McAfee? Because I can't think of anybody else who's played that position who's remotely gone on to have this kind of a post-career.
Well, no, you can't find anyone who's going to be this. Punters
there
don't.
Many athletes in general.
Punters, I think punters from the past. Mike, do you think that's a game we could play like 90s baseball? Somebody tossed out something the other day that felt like it could have been our 90s.
When we were talking about Rob Baronis.
Sean Landetta.
Ray Guy.
Well, but that's you played the game wrong. Ray Guy is the most famous of all the
He's
punters.
a Hall of Famer,
That's
I
why I
think.
named him.
That's not the
He's a hell of a
game.
guy.
Academy Award nominee.
Right.
That's not the game. The game is name funny punters. Name funny punters from your childhood.
okay.
We all have them. Ray Guy is the most famous of the
Right.
punters.
They named a show after him, Family Guy.
Outspoken punter. Wow, that is awful. Hey, that works. Outside of this, the last outspoken punter I think I could ever recall was Chris Cluey.
Reggie Roby.
How about Marquette King? Wasn't he outspoken for a bit?
Yes, and then that's why you
then it
see
was
all
a
these
St. Louis
videos of him
Battlehawk.
punting in the streets. I see him on asphalt punting the ball into somebody's lawn 70 yards away, saying he could still be in the NFL. But why isn't he? Because he's got a personality.
Tom Tupa.
That's a good one. That's an excellent one. Tom Tupa's
Guys, I could
excellent.
fling
See,
the
thank
ball.
you.
Our backup quarterback.
Whoever, yes, that's Jets football for you people. That was a period in Jets history. Tom Tupa was the name of both their punter and backup quarterback. Are we going to do better than that? That's a funny cartoon name.
I bet you we can.
Oh, the OG, Paul McGuire. Paul McGuire parlayed
Wow.
punting into a nice media career.
That's true.
Wait
Forgot
a
about
minute.
him.
I had no idea. Paul McGuire, I thought he was a defensive lineman. The broadcaster was a punter.
Yep.
Paul McGuire was
Punter
a punter.
slash linebacker.
Matt Turk.
I
love this game.
Jacked.
The key is just a couple of syllables. It's got to be the short names. It's why Cody was so pleased with his terrible Ray Guy.
Ray Guy.
Really? Because then you have multisyllabic, polysyllabic punters like Dave Zastadil that bring a smile to the face.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does Dave Zastadil bring a smile to the face?
Jeff Fiegels.
Ah.
Yes. The
Philadelphia.
Beagle.
The Beagle?
Yeah, that was his nickname. Beagle.
I don't think it was.
Beagle's the Beagle. Should have been.
Got a contractual clip I have to play from the Greg Cody show featuring Greg Cody as a part of our negotiation with him.
I didn't know that the holdout had ended. Has the holdout ended?
Yes.
I didn't know we were negotiating. The negotiation is over. What happened with you and him?
I play a clip whenever Chris Cody delivers me a clip.
Okay, and that's what we get Greg Cody for free on Tuesdays. That's the negotiation. Deal terms have been struck. The holdout is over. You've got a back in my day today that's not being held hostage by your holdout.
Right. Yeah.
In exchange for promoting your show
And parking for free.
and parking for free. You drive a hard bargain. I'm glad we made a deal. What more information can you give me, Mike Ryan, on this clip that we are playing from the Greg Cody? He really strong-armed us. He is now getting promotion on this show.
Please.
After I said I would never promote the Greg Cody show with Greg Cody. I have not negotiated these terms. This was done in private.
Right, but he's not asking for money. He's just asking for
I
promotion.
know, but I did
Right.
not. He's been really entitled and he's been stubborn and he hasn't done his job and he thinks he deserves things for
Wait
cough.
a minute. Can one have a job when one isn't paid? Isn't the definition of a job
Put it on the poll. Yeah.
Isn't the definition of a job that you're paid for your services? I thought it was. I could be wrong.
I have an idea. Greg Cody could be the Dan Le Batard show with Stugotz intern.
We can make you an executive intern if that sounds
Wow.
nice.
Oh, that sounds.
And what does that involve?
This one clip, evidently, that was negotiated unbeknownst to me. And I don't know what these negotiations are. And Mike, frankly, the fact that this is getting to me this late, I'm willing to blow up these negotiations
Well,
right
wait
now.
a second. Let's hear him out. Let's hear the whole
well,
thing.
Greg, as
Yeah.
we've mentioned several times, we have a clip. Would you like to set it up?
I don't know what the clip is.
That is not how to do this. You guys almost tricked me there. If you had just set it up, they would have tricked me and the holdout would have been over and Mike would have, but you don't react quickly enough because you do your job for which
Easy.
you are not paid as executive intern very
Easy, Dan.
poorly.
He's just an intern.
Right, please.
Executive intern.
What Mike was trying to do there is
Right.
stave off what I'm doing, which is like, wait a minute, why are we promoting anything? He was just going to play your clip and your response as
Right.
the bridge to that was, I don't know how to do that.
Well, he
I
asked
don't
me
know
what
how
the
to-
clip was. I don't know what it is. I have 2 producers on staff. One of them sent Mike a clip. I don't know what it is.
This is like the late night shows where they toss him up pretending that the guest doesn't know what it is, but he really doesn't know. He's got a staff of people. He did the podcast. He expects to be entitled to promotion, and he doesn't know what the clip is.
All his content is so good. It could be anything, right, Greg?
It could be anything
Right.
because the quality of the show is throughout, but it's ridiculous. I'm spending money out of my own pocket to do the podcast just like I am to do the show here. I get no money. Not that I'm complaining.
I'll set
really
it up
not.
for you, Greg,
Thank
and I'll
you.
promote your show. If you're a fan of the Dan Batard Show with Stugotz and a fan of Greg Cody
I have not
Tuesdays,
agreed to this.
Thank you,
would
Mike.
absolutely love the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody because it's for the diehards. Sorry, I got choked up there.
Thank you.
It's for the diehard Le Batard Show fan and diehard Greg Cody fan. It doesn't necessarily cast a wide net, and it's very of our own universe, Dan. And keeping in line with that, the guest this week on the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody was Jason Jackson, who is,
Wow.
I think, emceeing your roast. It's
Yeah,
for
imagine that.
his charity. So he gave some insight to that. And this is a 40-second clip courtesy of the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody.
By the way, Cody, you got to get this man like an assistant
I know.
or a secretary
he's-
or something. He is the worst person to coordinate with
Yeah.
in the history
Oh yeah.
of Jack's Celebrity Roast.
So socially awkward.
Dwayne Wade is 2 years from the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
right? Our boy Jason Taylor
Yeah.
is in the Hall of Fame, and Irie's a world-renowned DJ.
Mhm.
Easiest people to get their roasters. How many people at the table?
Oh, yeah.
Do you need an extra table? We've been talking to him since July. I hear he's like auctioning you all seats right now to
Yeah.
be in the house. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
Also true. I am engulfed and overwhelmed and can't get back to people because we started a business during a pandemic, and it's hard.
I found it funny that Chris Cody was laughing at the notion that you need a personal assistant when wasn't that supposed to be his job?
Yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to that? Christopher was also in an echo chamber apparently when he was doing that.
That clip had no Greg Cody in it. That enticed me in no way to listen to the episode.
Yeah.
Who chose that?
Who sent that clip? I mean, there was a lot of me in there, hence the name of the show. But Jax also was funny and complaining that Le Batard has sort of ghosted him, that they were once friends. Now Dan never calls him, didn't invite him to his wedding. There was a lot of good stuff in this episode, I'll tell you that.
All right, don't give it all away
I
for
wouldn't.
You
free.
just did.
No.
I thought the roast was in October.
I'm telling you. Jax. I love that fake Jason Jackson
What?
that you guys play. That was great.
Go ahead and get some of the fake Jason
Please.
Jackson. The celebrity roast is October 9th when he says, and this is if this isn't my life, when he complains we can't get his numbers at the tables. Guess whose fault that is? Everyone in here who hasn't told me who's
told you.
coming, because half of you haven't given me a response yet, which makes it hard to tell Jason Jackson.
Now.
No, now you're out. Now I can't. Now
What do you
whoever's
mean?
in, I don't want to even talk about it with you guys anymore. Now I don't have any more seats.
Are you looking forward to this? Like, are you mortified? What's
No,
what's
I
happening
agreed to
here?
do it for charity.
Right.
It'll be a fun night. Like
Okay.
I don't, this isn't my thing, but I'm doing it specifically because it's outside my comfort zone. And I'm trying to do some more things like that are outside my comfort zone.
I responded immediately for what it's worth.
Me too.
Yeah, so did I, because as you know, I love free stuff.
I do know that, yes. The other point is, though, that now the tables are closed and I had to do it because Jason Jackson was mad that I wasn't answering. But I just think it's funny that he's mad at me for an element of disorganization that is the fault of you guys.
So are you saying the door is shut on me?
You were
showing up
never
there?
going to
Oh, that's
go.
too
I
bad.
wasn't even going to bother asking you.
Let me ask you, do you know what kind of tea is going to be at this event?
God.
I would like to know. Maybe Long Island iced tea? I love that.
Well, I think that's why you were so eager each time to go. There is nothing in the world that Roy likes more than a free bar. Nothing
wrong with that.
Nothing. Roy, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does Roy love Claire as much as he loves a free bar?
I feel like whoever is roasting you is going to be spilling the tea the whole night.
Hey! Oh!
What?
Greg Cody was asked to be a roaster, still hasn't responded. Still hasn't gotten back to me. As Jason Jackson says, hey, I don't know who your roasters are.
Right.
I imagine Greg would feel bad roasting you.
I
right?
would,
Is
yeah.
that fair?
Yeah, that is not
also,
true.
it's a great college football slate that Saturday.
It really is. I would feel bad roasting Dan. I would feel even worse not sitting at the table drinking all night. So I didn't want to deprive myself of a good evening and perform.
You didn't tell me that until now.
What better time?
You hadn't answered me that whether you wanted to do it or not.
I was holding out. Listen, your roasters are already set up. Jack's revealed who they're going to be.
They were set up this weekend because he was asking me who my roasters were.
And you told him.
You did not answer me. I'm getting blamed for things you guys did.
Your roasters are set like Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers roasters.
I was waiting.
Oh, man.
Mike, do you have the fake Jason Jacksons for the audience? Give me as many as you can. I can't get enough of this person. I want him to call the show again and again.
Love him.
Talking to my man, Stugotz. See, I was out on vacation drinking a cafe con leche and eating a taco mantequilla by the pool. Don't forget to be like Coach Riley and do your diligence. That's all for me. I'm the fake Jason Jackson, Double J or J Jax if you're nasty.
Thank you, Jax. Thank you, Jax. I love that
So
guy.
right on.
Miss that guy
so good, dude.
make. I also miss fake Himalaya operator. If you could get me some of that, it's two of my favorite. It's two of my favorite fakes.
790 the ticket, talking to my man, Dan Batard and Stugotz. Dan, welcome back from your vacaciones. Heat fans, don't worry about the Heat. They're going to be A-okay. Well, there's a game going on, and I've been talking for the last 2.5 minutes. That's it for me. I'm the fake Jason Jackson, Double J, or J Jax if you're nasty.
Jessica's not familiar with the work of pukey broadcaster Jason Jackson, who talks one way on the air and is a totally different person off the air.
In so many ways.
It is so great that he has conquered this television packaging stuff. I don't know that we have a friend who works bluer than Jason Jackson. Any of us. But nobody would know it. They're like, look at that friendly ascot wearing guy who's been doing Heat television for 20 years and just ran off with his greed and ambition. That Mike English, that beloved Mike English. Jason Jackson ran off his career. Give me another one.
Yes.
Anything you got. Himalaya operator or Jason Jackson?
Fake Himalaya operator. You got 30 seconds. Let's go.
Yeah, Himalaya, the European speed sensation. Yeah, let's kick it in the gas, give it a blast. Himalaya, super fast. Yeah, we got more in store coming through that back door. Yeah, you girls better hold on to your poise. And you boys, you better hold on to your toys. Himalaya, here we go.
It just makes me and you smile.
It does make us smile, but it is from a different time. Does the Himalaya still run? Is there still a Himalaya operator?
Fake Himalaya operator. You're on the ticket.
Yeah, walk them bodies up, walk them bodies in. Big bad Miami Heat party about to begin. Put a little pep in that step, a little pride in that stride. Walking up the left-hand side of the ride, it's King James time. Yeah, we're going to turn you around, spin you around. Miami Heat, here we go.
Super annoying. Jessica, you're not familiar with the Himalaya. You don't even know. You are looking at us like you don't know what a magical time in childhood this was, hearing this guy through a tinny echo rhyme nonstop as you whirred around all over the amusement park.
Handsome Dan, it's your man, fake Himalaya operator. How are you today, Dan?
Excellent. What are you doing?
Hey, on Monday, is it going to be the Dolphins' day? What do you say?
I agree.
All right, you better reach down, grab a tight hold. Yeah, Miami Dolphins, faster we go.
Really? Okay.
He's never done a Q&A with
Right,
you.
no. So that's why we stopped hearing from him right there when we realized what a limited character that he was.
He was starting to get confidence.
He didn't have a whole lot of. It was a very limited impersonation. You've heard me for a while talking about the fact that all of our action stars seem to be 50 or older. Daniel Craig, I think this is the last time he's doing James Bond in 007. I think he has been quoted as saying that there is no amount of money, but I feel like he's doing this movie, No Time to Die. There's no time for it. James Bond does not have time to die, just so
Love
that
that.
you understand. Of course, I thought it had already been made by somebody, and I don't believe that he's saying, you guys help me out with the title for this, because it's 2 hours and 43
Not long enough.
minutes. It's 2 hours and 43 minutes, and these movies are well made. People like Daniel Craig in that role. He saved it, did he not, from Pierce Brosnan? What are you laughing about, Billy?
I was getting berated by a very angry Jess who is not a fan of me not watching Lord of the Rings because I think it's too long, but I don't think that 2 hours and 40 minutes of James Bond is long enough.
I mean, that's ridiculous. He goes, oh, it's not long enough. Like, they've been so mean to me for the last 2 weeks about the Lord of the Rings. They even made a grid of death punishment that you have to watch Lord of the Rings in one weekend, which honestly
Yeah.
sounds like a
God.
great weekend to me.
Oh, I hope I don't
Then
get
pick
that.
it, please.
I'm going
For
to
the
pick
love
it.
of God.
I'll pay you to pick it.
How much?
I dare you to pick it.
I have thought that we need more and more things for the grid of death because we're going to run out of things on the grid of death. But I think that one of the things, because we've got people wandering around outside here for an hour doing things, since Chris Cody is going to just spin something on the street that points people to the show, I think that one of the things should be that we have to go around for a half hour and just say to others things that they're comfortable saying to us anonymously on social media. Like, just go up to a stranger and just say, you're not as good as you used to be. Just an assortment of things that are
So you have us being Triumph the insult comic dog.
just wandering around the street. We need more of these. I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but taking us back, instead of Lord of the Rings, I want to talk about Daniel Craig and whether this is Stugotz's type of movie, but Stugotz doesn't have an attention span and it's 2 hours and 43 minutes. I love the title.
Not when it's Bond, Dan. That's not 2 hours and 40 minutes. Time works differently for Bond. Same with Bourne.
Both of them, are they?
Oh, yeah.
Time flies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it flies so much that there's no time to die.
There's no time. No.
There's just no time.
He's created out like some rev share deal with 007 that he gets paid an insane amount of money for 007, but he's actually the highest grossing actor this year, according to Variety, because of that terrible job with that accent that he did in Knives Out. Netflix paid $450 million for the next two sequels. He's getting $100 million of that. He is worth $180 million, and he's already gone on the record saying his kids aren't getting any of it.
Wow. I respect it. Good for him.
So many pictures.
Changed my
of his
mind
kids.
on Daniel Craig.
Why is he on the record as saying that his kids aren't going to get it?
He wants his kids to earn it. I mean, clearly. And he's selfish.
The Gates family has also said that they're going to donate most of their money to when they pass on. And we're all a little skeptical. But I'm not going to try Daniel Craig here. I think he means it.
I'm legitimately surprised to hear you say that Daniel Craig. I would not have guessed Daniel Craig as our highest grossing actor. And I would have thought as well, because he did, I've got this right. He was quoted as saying he wouldn't make even this movie, right? Like, he's done with the Bond character. He's tired. Well, not too tired. He's got time to cash those checks. He might not have time to die, but he has time to deposit.
You always got time for direct deposit, Dano.
You have him going to the ATM and putting physical checks in?
You don't have to deposit through the ATM. There are any number of ways that you can deposit. I'm legitimately stunned. Perhaps I shouldn't be, right? That's a franchise. What's going to happen to this franchise when he's done with it? Is someone going to come in here? Because this is, you can make an argument, it is top 5 movie franchises ever for it to be able to sustain through different characters, well, the same character, but different actors across, half a century.
But you have him being done. He's never going to be done.
Well, he says, I think he means it.
They all say it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think this time he means it. He hasn't meant it before.
No, there's no time to be done. There's no time.
This time he's serious?
Yeah. By the way, if I'm Bill Gates' offspring and Bill is like, you know what, you're going to get nothing, I'm like, okay. And then I'm going to just start jotting down little notes here, because if I get nothing, I'm bringing Bill Gates down. I'm telling you right now.
Nothing like a little in-family blackmail. I mean, how about
Mhm.
that?
Not even blackmail. I wouldn't even ask for anything. I'd just be like, you're getting nothing also, Bill Gates. Because you know they're skeletons. And nobody knows skeletons like the kids. They're skeletons there.
You would start jotting down notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, should I not?
Little proof, Dan.
Yeah. Bill Gates has just said, I'm giving you nothing. Like, okay, fine, Bill.
What skeletons
Let's
do you have
play
Bill
hardball.
Gates having?
Oh,
Oh,
they're
no,
skeletons.
no, he's got them now.
Are you kidding me?
Are you?
come on.
Whitty has
me?
not.
So
Whitty,
innocent.
I'm not saying
I mean,
believe
please.
everything you read,
Whitty.
but believe maybe some of it.
Whitty, you have not been reading these New York Times investigations. He's
What do you think the source was?
he's Epstein adjacent.
Oh, Billy Jr.
Yeah.
He's got some questionable stuff in there. And yes, he gave a whole bunch of money to charity, but the reporting on that all around Bill Gates suggests that we're going to climb around in people's lives. And I don't think anybody anymore is going to be able to die a hero. And I think we're going to be able to go back and prosecute people who have already died for all manner of stupidity and crimes.
Except for Brady.
Well, he's never going to die. He's
That's
got
the point,
no
yeah.
time
No
to
time
die.
to die,
He's got he's
Only time for winning. That's it.
Wow. Imagine if when Tom Brady retires, he becomes James Bond.
Oh, he'd be great.
He really would.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm so sick of this guy.
I know.
me?
Also you.
Tom Brady has a radio show he does with Jim Gray and Larry Fitzgerald.
They won't stop promoting it. I mean, it's every other commercial on Sirius.
You know what's going to happen with this? Larry Fitzgerald is going to win a Super Bowl ring with the Bucks. He's just waiting to December.
Exactly
He's free
right.
to sign anywhere.
How many receivers do they need? I mean,
They don't have enough. More is the answer always.
I was always surprised when I was listening to Monday Night Football on the radio. One, that Jim Gray was hosting it. We'd be like, coming up at halftime, we speak to Tom Brady. It's like, how the hell did that come together? It's like, it's brought to you by the University of Phoenix. Like, how much are they paying for the sponsorship? How is this possible?
Jim Gray's the bad salesman that's rested on his laurels for 20 years, but he's got that one account. And if he goes, the account goes with him.
the account's never going to go, though. I mean,
You say he's got one account, but he snuck in there 11 years ago and secured the LeBron account out of nowhere. The LeBron account ended up going to Jim Gray. He only emerges.
He only stalks big game.
right, but that account was there for a minute, and then it left him for a better wealth manager. I'm telling you, Brady's going to stay with Jim Gray for life, okay? For Jim Gray's life. Okay?
Why? It's like the least relevant media that he could be doing.
Safe. It's a safe zone for Tom Brady. Why?
He can engineer other safe zones.
Jim Gray knows where the body is buried. And I'm not just saying that because he kind of looks like an Undertaker.
Does he look like an Undertaker? I've got him looking more like a mortician than an
Yeah.
Undertaker.
He's a little too lanky for Undertaker, I think.
The name of the Tom Brady show with Larry Fitzgerald and Jim Gray is, do you know, Stugotz?
No.
So the advertising hasn't worked on you. You've
Nope.
heard all of the advertisements for the show. You are listening at all times on your way home. Sirius XM. Is it Mad Dog? What are you listening to? You're still absorbing all sports radio content on Sirius, or are you listening to some music?
Little music, but not. I don't hear the commercials there. I hear them ESPN in the morning a little bit, getting ready for the show, and Mad Dog in the afternoon when I'm listening to Christopher Mad Dog. So I'm still listening.
The name of the show: Larry Fitzgerald, Tom Brady, and Jim Gray. And when I think of Jim Gray, this is what I think of. The name of the show is Let's Go.
Ah,
ESPN is so pissed that's taken now.
yes. Goosebumps. Clever.
ESPN already has Get Up, and they're like, damn it, they got us with Let's Go. Let's Go is better than just getting up. All we did is get up. They went. Jessica, why are you shaking your head? Because they thought they had focus groups and marketing meetings, and they said those are the two syllables. The syllables that say Brady, let's go.
I really think that sports media has gotten extremely lazy with naming shows. Like with all the new ESPN radio shows, they're just people's names. What happened to just coming up with a clever name? Are they all taken now?
Debatable.
I
good.
can't believe
That's a walk-off.
that
That
it is
really
so
is.
That's a
good.
great joke,
Just
man.
Go home, man.
Billy has been suffering in the dungeon of press conferences. It's a lot of work, Stugotz, for about 4 or 5, sometimes 3, sometimes 6 glorious minutes of recapping the week with cliches and coach speak. We talked a lot of football yesterday, and a tweeter writes in, terrible take from Batard show. How has the University of Oklahoma not been relevant like they were under Barry Switzer when Stoops led them to a national championship and 10 Big 12 titles and now 4 more under Riley and a few college football appearances? Terrible take. Oklahoma, when I was watching Barry Switzer, was either 1 or 2 every year. They were something that felt like Alabama. It wasn't about winning that conference. That was, even
Right.
as they were having tough games against Nebraska, you were talking about Oklahoma under Barry Switzer was the best. Oklahoma over after Barry Switzer with everyone they've had, they're the 4th best team that can get into the playoff and they're going to get smoked.
Right. I mean, it's that simple. Once upon a time, back when it was the Big 8, I believe, Oklahoma was a powerhouse in college football every single
But it was
season.
a national school. It was not. It
Yes.
was national. It's not about Oklahoma, Texas, the regional thing that becomes national. Oklahoma was what Alabama, what USC, what Miami was under Barry Switzer. They were first, man, before all these people. Renegade program that sort of sells its soul in order to be the very best in that sport with no good reason out of Oklahoma to be the very best.
They were a national program because they were really good because of Barry Switzer and because they recruited guys like Brian Bosworth, who was a national name. I mean, so that was a national program
He
at one
became,
point.
it's not
Yeah.
the recruit that became a national name. He became a star. He became almost one of the few college football stars. That's what the program was. And it's hard to stay up there as either the best or the second best.
I think that tweeter was absolutely right. They're a national program. We've kind of got Oklahoma fatigue because, okay, how are they going to get in the college football playoff and not win a game in the playoff? But they have multiple Heisman Trophy winners, multiple #1 overall picks. They're always a part of the college football playoff or national championship discussion until late in November.
But it just feels, Mike, like lately every season's the same season. It's 11-1 or 12-0. They get to the national semifinal. They lose to someone who's better than them, and then their season's over. I mean, that's it. They're like the 5th best program in the country.
Look, forgive me, because it is a bit of hair splitting here. I'm talking about being either the best or the second best program in the country and being the 4th or 5th or 6th best. Like,
Right.
it's not like
Yeah.
that's really what I'm talking about here. But there is a difference, especially where Alabama is right now. When I think of Barry Switzer's programs, what I think of is before the advancement of throwing the football around in college football, that was the most feared program in the country. On and off the field, hugely interesting beyond its coach because it was a renegade program. They were doing the cover of Sports Illustrated, quarterback dealing crack, guns, all that stuff. It was just a different thing. But forgive me if what I'm doing is the argument between second best program and 6th best program. I'm sorry, Mike, to have offended you and the college football zealots out there with my blasphemy.
The second best program, though, meant something at, once upon a time in college football. It feels like there's one program and everyone else. I'm not even certain being second is that big of a deal anymore.
They've been 4th 4 times. They're 0-4 in the college football playoff.
Right.
So put some respect on their name.
Oklahoma has sustained excellence the way almost nobody else has other than Alabama. I mean, look at Miami and Florida State, among others, have fallen off. Oklahoma has not. Here's what's fun to think of. Post Nick Saban. Someday Alabama's going to be, they're going to be going 8-3, 7-4. Imagine being the coach that follows Nick Saban.
That
Crazy.
day is never going to happen. Saban's never going to leave.
He will
Never.
win 4 national championships while Saban's in the grave.
Yeah.
And then maybe it'll peter out like it did for Switzer when he took Jimmy Johnson's players with the Cowboys. And then it'll peter out like it did for Coker. But no, it's going to take years. Man, that's such a good job as soon as Saban leaves. Such a good job.
Oh, sure.
But, Greg, there's Clemson. There's Ohio State. At least those teams, you've seen them win a national championship. They have a chance to win the national championship.
Right.
No one thinks Oklahoma's winning the national championship. Nobody.
No, but
That's not true. Every year, somebody thinks, and
Right.
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
thinks.
fans.
Every
Right.
year,
Look at you coming around.
every year, someone can talk themselves into it.
I think the year with Baker Mayfield when they played that outstanding Rose Bowl game was the year that I most believed they were national championship winners, but lost very close, very closely.
To my
I've
point.
got to tell you guys what happened here right before. Surprisingly, we got really into the weeds on Oklahoma football in a way that I was not expecting.
You really took that tweet hard. I mean,
Well, thank you for reminding me of that Rose Bowl. Georgia was so good that year. They should have won the title.
Georgia's that we're headed for
All right, I'm
Alabama.
going to call them third best that year.
We're headed for Alabama, Georgia playing one of those 7-3 LSU games, right?
well, unless Florida beats Georgia, then it will be Florida and Alabama. And keep in mind, okay, Florida is the second best team in the country. Only lost to Alabama by 2. You like Florida better than Oklahoma, don't you, Smetty?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
the Oklahoma's defense has been a little bit better, I would say, but Spencer Rattler, like, he needs some more opportunities to play. I think he'll get better throughout the season. So yeah, I like Oklahoma. I wouldn't, if I were an Oklahoma fan, I wouldn't be that worried that they've had a few close ones early this season. Like Alabama played a close one on Saturday.
Stugotz, you heard this was a funny question and answer from Frank Beamer's kid, Shane Beamer. Did you hear him talking about like what happened to your team against the Georgia front seven? What happened? You haven't heard the sound
I'm
yet?
just happy there's a Beamer roaming the
Okay,
sidelines.
there is
Yeah.
a Beamer
seriously.
roaming the sidelines,
BMW.
and this is just an honest appraisal when he is asked. I wish
I enjoyed it.
before
That
we
was a
get
heat check.
before we get to this sound, I want to bring it back around to Cody because
thank you.
what just happened with him before we started this segment, Mike, you will marvel at. And Whittingham, this is the same family of stuff that infuriates you about Stugotz. After all of that, the holdout, all of I demand promotion for my show, shadowy negotiations with Mike Ryan that I didn't know about, a holdout that included him boycotting back in my day. Greg Cody, after all of that, turns to me during the break and says, "Hey, I forgot my back in my day at home."
That a boy.
Yep. It's there. It's written. Page and a half.
Dog
Typed
ate
out.
my homework level excuse.
You know what I'm going to do? As soon as I get home, I'm going to take a photo of the written back in my day and text it to you guys.
I have a better idea. Why don't we send Chris, your son, to your house and have him take a photo of it?
It's
send
his
it
day
to us.
off.
I mean, yeah, but he's the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah, we're about 10 miles apart.
Okay.
It
I
is
mean,
12.
day off. Like, does anyone really get a day off around here?
No.
He's supposed to be working for Batard and Friends today. He's on assignment, and I see no bigger assignment.
You know what, Greg? Do me a
Yes.
favor. Just
Yeah, thank
if in a second, leave the room and call your son and get in the back in my day. But I want to speak to the overarching general rage-soaked entitlement.
Yeah.
He then turns to me
Mhm.
and says, as if I should be impressed by this, you know, it's only the second time it's happened
That's right.
that I've forgotten the one fucking thing that I have to do around
Right.
here.
I'm impressed.
Thanks. Only twice. My-
Only twice.
My first back in my day was in 2014. In 7 years, only twice have I written but forgotten to bring a back in my day.
You're so lo-fi. Just email it to yourself the next time. We can print it out for you
I
here.
I didn't have the foresight to do that.
It's not okay.
You know, who thinks they're going to forget something?
But
You know.
7 years, 2 times, you're shooting a very high percentage.
Thank you.
I am proud of
It's
you.
right,
what?
it's right there
Very
next
good.
to my printer.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Who thinks they're going to forget something? He's totally right. It's the very nature and definition of forgetting.
I still use my printer. I love my printer.
Happened to me yesterday. I pulled some strings, called in an appointment at the DMV, which is very hard to get right
Yeah, it
now.
is.
It's a
it
exclusive
is.
company. It's super far away. Golden Cane status, you know how it goes.
Guillermo, put it on the
Jesus
poll.
Christ.
Did you know the
Golden
DMV had a VIP?
So you need appointments typically to go to the DMV. That's a smart way to do it. Otherwise, you'll be there for a half day. But in a pandemic, they're acting backwards. And now there's no appointments. So you just have a super spreader event outside as opposed to trying to mitigate that. But there's only like 2 sites in Miami-Dade County that take reservations for appointments.
and it's very exclusive windows, not for the Golden Cane. Either way, I get my appointment. It has Biscayne Boulevard in the address, so I'm like, okay, it'll take me 15 minutes from work. No, this is all the way in North Miami-Dade, the Justice Center, all the way over there.
Wow.
There's also in Biscayne Boulevard, which is very long. So I get over there. I have all my marriage license, social security number, voter ID card, driver's license, because I need to do this real ID thing. You need to be there because they scan your retinas. It's all crazy. Forgot my passport.
Oh my.
And now I got to do this all over again. But don't fear. There's always another Golden Cane waiting to help out. What a community. We can do
Community
anything we
of
put our minds to
losers.
except for win the Coastal.
So you saw that the address was on a street and then assumed it was close because you didn't realize the street was very long. So if the address had been like I-95, you would have been like, oh, it's 10 minutes away, but it could have been in Maine.
Yeah. See, there's so many parades.
Valid point.
There's so many parades down Biscayne Boulevard that whenever I think of Biscayne Boulevard, I just think of Dwayne Wade and confetti right across the street from the arena. But nope, this was in a place that I had only been to maybe once before, the old FIU campus.
Oh yeah, I know it well.
Yeah, Biscayne Bay.
Look at what you
Whoa.
have stirred
Biscayne
in
Bay
the
campus.
back row. Old FIU.
The things that will get
Yeah.
him going.
I used to have to go to classes there. It is so far. But that's where the School of Journalism is, and that's where I'd have to go to get some of these classes. It's kind of crazy. It's a really nice campus, though, if you're wondering. And it's right next. What do you mean? No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's right on the water. Have you gone to
Tony
the
feels
water?
strongly about that.
Wait a minute, Tony, get in here then. Tony is shouting off mic, just enraged by Billy's general opinion. I did
Man,
not think that.
place sucks. Okay,
Wow,
first
geez.
and foremost, and I am
down
a
right
proud
now.
graduate of the J School in at FIU, and I would go to the Biscayne Bay campus from
Yeah.
Kendall every single day, like a choo-choo train, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It took me an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get back.
Yeah.
Horrible
And?
campus.
What does it have to do with the campus?
It's
though?
on the water?
It sounds like the commute is
Yeah.
what
It's not on the
sucks. I
water.
mean,
It is on the water. What are you
It's not
talking
on
about? You
the
go out the
water.
back. Yeah, sometimes
You
get
gotta
a little
go through like a
flustered. You go look at the
trail.
water.
There's like mangroves. You
Beautiful
get killed by
mangroves.
mosquitoes. You gotta
Oh
go
my
through like a
God.
mile of trail and then finally the water.
It's beautiful.
The
though.
worst.
The Bay
Sucks.
Biscayne Bay, BBC. You know,
of course.
no Biscayne Bay campus.
Mhm.
I went to
What it's called,
orientation there. It was
Yeah.
pleasant.
Right next to
Must have sucked,
Alonzo Morning High School.
It is actually.
Oh, yeah,
that's right.
But then I
And
realized that
Tracy too.
the J school was too hard, so I was like, I'm not going to do this. So congrats on graduating.
Because of the drive.
Thanks.
Because the drive was bad and
Wow.
school
I
was
had to
hard.
take a bus one time.
It did really sound like you were enraged by the commute, and there was no way that you were going to like the campus. It doesn't sound like you're arguing on. I haven't heard outside of it evidently existing in a swampy marsh of some sort where
Overstated.
It's not overstated, Dan.
it is
not
far
overstated.
away. I will not dispute.
Well,
And-
so's Bali, but people don't complain about that.
I go there at 7:45 and I see the line. I'm like, this is not going to happen. So I go to the Kendall one. I'm like, okay, shorter line. I walk around a mini mall almost twice. And
Wow.
I'm like, I'm standing outside. I'm like, surely this is quick moving. I take one step in 15 minutes. And then that's when I'm like, Golden Canes, come to the rescue.
Yeah.
Mike, though, aren't you basically lamenting one of the great symbols for government inefficiency that we have in this country? If I were to say to you initials, I don't know if the U.S. Post Office is even viewed the way that this is for, I don't even.
The
what's-
post office is a breeze right now. I mean, no one's going to the post office. Nobody. No lines,
Right.
nothing.
But
Yes.
the DMV, you're complaining about what I associate those initials with. Oh, nothing good is going to happen here. It's all going to be inefficient. It's not the worst of government inefficiencies, but only because we pay like somehow $26,400 for a toilet seat.
It's never been a good experience. Never been a good experience at the DMV. And I was so close to having one. But then I couldn't get out of my own way. Spinning too many plates. Didn't take time to read everything that I needed to bring. Who brings a marriage license but not a passport? Damn you, Mike Ryan.
I'm sorry that all of that happened to
That
you.
hurts, man.
Pandemic DMV sounds super sad.
Yeah.
All of it. Like you got no chance. Your mental health is going to really be tested. Pandemic DMV. So I'm sorry that happened.
But there were
to you.
12 people in line. My Golden Canes came through. I was taking selfies. I'm like, look at this. How great is a DMV? Having the time of my life after having to flee 2 previous ones just days before because it was the 7th ring of hell. but I was enjoying it, and I just let myself down in the worst way.
I was trying to get to this Shane Beamer sound, and I want to get to the useless sound. This is not useless sound. He's a South Carolina football coach, and he's just basically asked about Georgia because it would appear, I mean, yes, Florida played Alabama close, but it would appear that we're headed toward, oh, wait, can Alabama play one of these games with the Georgia defense that's totally overwhelming? That's going to be like those LSU Alabama games that were played a long time ago. Although I don't think Saban had quarterbacks in any of those games. Did he? Did he have quarterbacks in those 7-3 games he was playing against LSU?
I think McCarron was a quarterback for one of them.
I mean, the quarterback he has now is probably the best quarterback he's ever had.
Why do we do this with Nick Saban?
He's so good.
We're like, wow, he just figured out to recruit quarterbacks. It's kind of weird, no? It's kind of weird. Like Nick Saban didn't realize he had bad quarterbacks the entire time, and he's just like, oh, wait. I'll just recruit a quarterback. Or maybe he just did and it didn't work out.
Well, it started with Tua, right? That was the first big...
No. McCarron was probably... Actually,
he was a big-time recruit, McCarron?
Yeah, they had one of those 3 first name type of... that's all Alabama had. John Parker Wilson? Was it John Parker Wilson?
I wanted
John
to just
Parker
blurt
Wilson.
Peter Tom Willis because it's just another 3-person name from an FSU quarterback.
Yeah, John Parker Wilson, and then Brody Croyle. Brody Croyle got into the NFL. And then, things really took off with A.J. McCarron, and then pretty much good quarterbacks throughout his entire time there.
Skipped a Greg McElroy stop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. But I would say that was the weakest of his positions, and now you have guys, Mike, who are decommitting from USC and going to Alabama. Like, it's like the last drop in the bucket here. I mean... It is.
Let's play this sound, though, because he was asked about the Georgia front seven, and it appeared at the beginning of the Zoom that he wanted his hair to look less bald, or maybe he had hair at the beginning of the day, and then Georgia's defense just made him look like that.
Really cruel for the SID department over at South Carolina to just have the Zoom open before he can get set and check himself out, because this was very clearly the first question Shane Beamer had, and he was trying to get his look right for it.
And the only question that mattered, really, and I'm glad he could have left the press conference after this, because this explained what happened to the great lineage of Beamer ball that you will find in college football after it met the scary front seven from Georgia.
Just what were they doing to maybe make things physical on the offensive side and maybe being able to get a push?
Who was doing?
Georgia's defensive line. What were they doing to maybe make things difficult on the offense?
They've got like 100 5-star football players on their defense. They have a defensive lineman that weighs 340 pounds and runs better than everybody on this call. They've got 5-star defensive backs. They're big and physical and fast. I mean, other than that, they're really freaking good. That's why they have the top defense in the country. They're hard to run the football on. So there wasn't some magical scheme they came out with tonight. They got 5-star recruits everywhere, and they play really physical. Damn.
Wow, stuck the landing.
I mean, he might as well have come out and just said, "You guys saw that shit. Like, come on, who we kidding?" Like, they got
a million 5-star.
Look, I know. I learned a lot at my daddy's knee. I know what it looks like when they've got those guys and I don't. Billy, how do you feel about the useless sound montage? We got to bring the people into the glorious. We don't have a lot of minutes better than these minutes. It is a ride through just awful sludge. So how are you doing this week?
I'm okay. We got new music, Dan. I don't know if that excites you in any way. We got some new music.
How did this work? Because I don't know what's going on with our music rights, and I miss the music. Music is very expensive.
Well, someone, I don't know if it was Skip or who it was, Gary, someone ponied up and we got some music now.
I don't believe you.
So we got, what do you mean?
What, that it was Gary?
I know. I don't believe that this is going to be good music. I believe that this might be bad music.
Dare you?
First win of many, and the first one's usually the hardest, and it was.
Tyler had such a beautiful game. I mean, he was remarkable.
It was such a great day at the stadium. The fans were ready and rocking.
The bumps and bruises come with football.
It's football in this league.
It's just in his DNA.
Hats off to our guys up front.
We got to collectively do better coaching, playing every aspect of the game.
We're going to all continue to learn. We lose or draw, we're going to all continue to grow. We lost round 2. So round 3 coming soon.
Whatever it means, it means something different to all of us, you know? It means something. I can tell you what it means to me.
It means a lot to me.
I've never watched Star Wars before.
It'd be frustrating, but it's a wasted opportunity, if we don't learn from it and we don't correct the things that we can correct moving forward. Experience is great for everyone.
I just got to do a better job communicating. I think that's the biggest thing. We have to continue to push forward, eliminate the negatives, build on the positives. We can't let this game affect us heading into next week.
It's okay to play a boring game of football. That's really it.
We just need to, keep grinding, keep working.
He is an electric dude. He's competitive as crap. He wants to win so bad. Sometimes it's okay to be boring.
At the end of the day, it is what it is.
When they get the ball in their hands, good things happen.
Play it like practice.
We lost some heartbreaking wins.
We lost this game as a team.
It's a team effort.
We win and lose as a team.
Really, all phases had great plays and plays I know they want back, but we stuck together.
Part of being a tough team to beat is not beating yourself.
We beat ourselves, penalties, drop passes, missed tackles, and that starts with me. I got to do a better job.
Outcoached. Oh, I don't know if we got outcoached. Oh, we lost a game. I don't normally, that's a good question. I've been asked that question before.
This league's crazy. You gotta keep your head down and keep going to work.
He had talk about nobody flinching. I mean, he just stayed the course. He relishes those moments, and he was at his best when his best was required.
Yeah, like I left on my own. Golly, I didn't do it. Shoot, if I could have stayed, I could have stayed. If I can't, they didn't want me. Like that ex-girlfriend, shoot, I gotta go.
What transpired had to transpire, and I was stating that case to them.
But, granted, I got a rebound. It was the Lions. They picked me up. You know what I mean? Now they feeding me good, taking me to dinners. You know what I mean? Another man's trash is another man's treasure.
Get that guy on the show.
Just like that guy has a cartoon happy voice. That is absolutely a voice that you would expect to see in to hear in the cartoons. Urban Meyer, man, he sounded a little more defeated than everyone else in there.
But it wasn't his fault.
He's never
In
been.
his defense, and he has been a little bit more defeated than everybody else.
Yes.
Outcoached? Me? No.
He didn't even say that. He didn't say. He just said, I've never heard that question before, which surprises me that he's. How can you be surprised by that question?
Well, when it's Vic Fangio on the opposite sideline, you could be a little surprised.
And also, he lost 32 times in college. He's been a college coach since 2001. He's lost 32 times. So, yeah, he's rarely been outcoached.
Billy, can you tell me who it was that said of somebody, he's an electric dude and he's competitive as crap?
That was Robert Saleh, who says it's okay to play a boring game.
Yeah.
Oh,
Zach
Jesus.
Wilson.
Boring game my entire life.
Stugotz was mad, and you may have heard him spit upon hearing the Jets coach's voice. That's his second game. Stugotz spit at his microphone upon hearing his voice. But when he says competitive is crap, did you put that in there because crap isn't competitive? Like crap is to say someone is competitive is crap.
Yeah.
Crap is not competitive.
It could
No,
be.
it really isn't.
Yeah, no, it could be.
It just sits there. Doesn't do anything.
But size sometimes, girth,
Right.
smell. There's lots of aspects of crap that can be competitive.
He just didn't want to curse, Dan. He didn't want to say competitive as shit or competitive as fuck.
But if he had said that,
That was a twangy fuck.
It would sound better to your point then. Yeah.
you got really angry at the.
I'm tired of boring. I mean, I've been watching boring football. I've been a fan of this team for 40 years. They had one exciting season, 2 exciting seasons. Back-to-back AFC championships with Mark Sanchez. One of those 2 seasons, can't believe I'm saying this, they were boring to watch as they made it to the AFC championship game. I'm tired of being bored. I'd rather lose and be exciting than win and be boring.
That's a lie.
And to tell, you're probably right. But to tell Zach Wilson boring's okay, you didn't draft Zach Wilson to be boring. You drafted Zach Wilson because you said he can make all the throws. Let him try and make all the throws. Don't do that to him. It's 2 games. He hasn't played that well. You have no offensive line. And now as a coaching staff, you're starting to get in the kid's head where he's going to start thinking before he throws the ball. No, don't play boring. Play the way you play because that's why they drafted you. Don't do it any other way. Don't do it Salah's way. Do it Zach Wilson's way.
Where do you stand with Gase, by the way? Because you guys were
We're no longer
close.
friends. I mean,
Just because he's not the Jets coach?
No, because Sam Darnold's on his way to Canton. I mean, and we had him. He was our quarterback. It's unbelievable. And that team is really, really good. And Gase ruined him. I mean, that's it. Hey, Billy, he loses Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's turned into a very nice wide receiver. Sam Darnold was a disaster as a New York Jet, and he goes to Carolina. Granted, 2 games into his career in Carolina, but they're 2-0. They haven't played a road game yet, and Darnold's playing very well.
I need to explain to the audience that this isn't a joke with Stugotz. You should have heard him before the show talking about Mike in the category of Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson and some of these coaches that have done it in both places. He hit you with Matt Rule. He did that off of 2-0 today.
I did
like
that.
you guys were talking,
I regret
and he's
doing it. I was hoping you would forget.
as if Matt Rule was conquering so much at Temple. That
a New Year's Bowl at Baylor as well.
And he's 2-0.
He was on his way, right? I mean, Matt Rule.
To winning a national championship and being in the class of Pete Carroll. And
I got carried away. I regret it again. I was hoping Dan would forget. He didn't. He never does.
Because of a 2-0 start at home.
A 2-0 start
I'm
by
projecting
Carolina. This is Stugotz, incidentally, coming off of, I also heard him saying he was 0-5 picking games, Mike, this weekend. Was that, he may not have been 0-5
no,
publicly because he said it was a fantasy thing that he went 0-5 on.
I was 0-4 on the Stugotz picks. There's a future bet I made. We'll find out the result of that one in 2 years. Mike and I are in this league. We've been in this league for a while now, where you pick 5 games every week. I had a decent first week. I was 3-2. I went 0-5 this week.
Yeah, so he's a combined 0-9. In his defense, he couldn't pick the games in the other league that he went 0-5 on.
This is what I love, though. That Mike, that is what he said. He went 0-5, and he limped in with, well, those are the games they assigned. The ones you picked.
I had to choose
You
those.
went 0-4 on the ones you picked. So you basically got all 9. Can we start again, Mike? Let's start this again.
Let's be clear. It's 0-4-0-1. Okay.
No, you're not.
We don't know the results of the one yet.
You don't get a draw there. That's not a push because you
get your slip back.
I'm chasing
Greg,
Dan.
we're laughing because Stugotz, one of the games he picked was a game that did not exist on the schedule. He had 2 teams playing that were not playing. And so he was at 0-4 instead of 0-5 because he had Jacksonville playing the Saints or something.
They don't play for 2 years.
Well, anticipation.
Mike, I want to make this the start. Stugotz has now started right now. We need to keep track of this 0-9 because we've had a couple of these seasons. He started 1 year 0-17. What do you mean it's not fair?
Those 5 games were assigned to me.
No, they were assigned. But, so you picked the other 5, one of which wasn't a game that was being played. So the 5 that were assigned that your excuse is you lost on them, you picked 4 different ones and you lost those 2.
0-9, 0-1.
Mind you, this is the same league that he was in last year that he almost finished near bottom because he was starting to go for the bottom prize because if you finish last place, that's so amazing that you do get a cash prize for that too. And he turned to me, he's like, Mike, I think I'm going to start going for last. I'm like, don't change a thing, Stugotz.
It's a bit too early for that, but guess my record, the 5 games I picked in college, Dan, guess the record. You don't have to guess. 5 games in college, I went 3-1. How about that? I mean, 5 games, 3-1.
Wow. What happened to the other one? Push?
He only picked 4.
Just another game that he probably got the schedule wrong. Just doesn't do anything right.
I was supposed to pick 5, Greg, but I only like 4.
Okay. Makes sense.
Give us the stat of the day music, short version, please.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Sorry to do this to you, Stugotz, but Zach Wilson is the 4th rookie top 5 selection with 0 passing touchdowns and 4+ interceptions in a game over the last 20 seasons. The most recent 2 to do it, Sam Darnold and Mark Sanchez.
Ouch.
Wow.
Ouch. Jesus.
Good stat.
What a punch in the neck. So, Stugotz, did Zach Wilson have more completions to the other guys or as many completions to the other guys as he did to his own guys? I didn't see how many passes he completed in the game.
Oh, I don't think that's the case. I mean, I'll check on it.
I think I heard the stat like through 3 quarters, it was something like that. If he threw his 4 interceptions in the first 3 quarters, at one point he was pacing, I think, he was terrible, correct? I didn't see any of the Jets game because they weren't in the red zone.
Right. He was, well, the Patriots were often. Zach Wilson completed, it looks like he completed 19 passes, and he had 4 interceptions. He was bad, Dan. There's nothing, I can't say no offensive line. The line stinks. He didn't have time. He made some bad decisions and some bad throws. It's his second game in the NFL against a Belichick coach defense.
It was a funny still that was circulating 0 for 2 with like 3 picks at one point.
Zach Wilson ranks 33rd of 33 rated quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
There are 33. Somebody's already gotten hurt. Speaking of which, you got something I wanted to ask you about yesterday. You threw into your weekend observations the Ryan Fitzpatrick injury news. Do you remember what your source was on that? Do you remember where you got that information? Because I did not know it before you were saying it.
Right.
And I was wondering who had reported it. Do you remember off the top of your head?
I had heard it on an ESPN radio show. That's where I believe I heard it.
I read that someone called into a local show in the Washington area and said that it was just a random guy who called in and said that they saw him limping around a water park after going down a slide. So credibility seems dubious there.
The fast slide. I just love that we made
Be
it.
careful with that. I mean, we had a guy call us and tell us Shaq was about to be traded, and Dan and I laughed him off the air, and 15 minutes later, he was traded.
That is correct, but it doesn't mean that everyone who's calling a radio show with information has the correct news.
You just said be careful with it, and then did the opposite of what being careful with it would be.
You ran with it as it was a news item, and it may be indeed true. There could have been, in fact, it sounds true, that a guy at a water park saw Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like to think it's true. It seems delightful. Come limping off the fast flume with his 7 kids.
Like when you see Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know you're seeing Ryan Fitzpatrick, right?
No mistaking.
Yeah.
Do we really think he's going to a water park with all 7 kids? You got to leave at least 3 at home, right?
I don't know how that works. You don't know how it works. You just know that you hate kids, so more kids is going to be a bad experience for you.
7 kids at a water park? Does anyone here feel like they could manage that? 7 kids at a water park.
What kind of car do you think he drives to take his 7 kids places? Like a 15-passenger van? What is
Phillip
he
Rivers actually travels in one of these giant mobiles. I think he was doing this between Los Angeles and San Diego for a while.
Right.
Because he's got he's got 14 kids?
Does he?
Something 9? How many kids does Phillip Rivers have?
I think it's somewhere in between. Yeah.
I thought it
Very
was 8.
Catholic, doesn't believe in contraceptives.
Enough kids that they're not going to fit in a normal sized vehicle.
I'm seeing that he has 9 kids, but that was as of 2020, so I need an updated figure because that might have changed.
Right. Being locked in home, there's at least 2 more.
But I think that particular car was more about him getting ready for the game. Like he was commuting to practice every day. He was watching film. It had 15 televisions in it. It had nice couches, reclining seats in it. Like it was really, really nice, but it was all an effort to make him comfortable in his commute and get him ready for the games.
I believe it was a multi-million-dollar vehicle, and I think that you're right. But the question stands, is it not difficult to get 9? You can't. 9 kids and a couple. How many cars can that fit in going to the water park?
Possibly 1 Sprinter vehicle. They can happen.
Also depends on the age of the kids, I suppose,
well,
right?
Yeah, just you know what? Don't invite me anywhere. I'm not coming.
But if they're too small, they use car seats, which take up a lot of room. So it's self-defeating.
Can we go back to the original premise of where we are in journalism? Stugotz reporting as fact Ryan Fitzpatrick on a flume, a caller to a Washington radio station.
There's a lot of reports here, Dan.
There aren't a lot of reports.
Well, it's the same report, but a lot of people wrote about it. When there's smoke, there's fire.
It was one call that you don't remember where it is that you got the information as you sprung into action in your weekend observations and did an injury report news on Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right.
Had you guys heard that? Because I had not heard the flume thing, the injury flume thing, and I had not heard that it was a caller reporting it. Has anyone asked Fitzpatrick about this? Because it would be irresponsible, Stugotz, for Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is the chance of his life. This Washington team, Mina and Dominique were telling us last year, they're a piece away. They're a quarterback away. Their defense is so good that Ryan Fitzpatrick will be the upgrade they need. And then in the first game, he's brittle because he was on fast water flume, the bearded Harvard guy.
There are so many of these rumors that go around on message boards or, radio shows or whatever. It's already happened to a few different players this season. You tend to just kind of like either let them play out or let actual journalists go and investigate them and then make those, backed claims in a column or on a website or something. You don't just put them in your weekend observations.
I wanted.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Reads true.
You could see him at the water park, see him on the slide, see him not being careful on the slide. That's what Fitzmagic is all about.
Huge family man. Always takes his kids everywhere. Super dad, that guy.
Wow, I love this as a pivot by you guys, somehow letting the white quarterback who does the stupid thing, giving him all the compliments for doing the stupid thing. Family man, hey, the Fitzpatrick magic isn't being reckless. You guys are making excuses for one of the dumbest things I've heard to happen to a starting quarterback at the start of the season.
Well, what I was saying yesterday is the complete opposite. I said, imagine if this was Jameis Winston. I mean,
it wouldn't be great, family man. And he's a lot of fun, I assure you.
So the argument was from Washington football team fans is that he was carrying this knock into the first game in which he legitimately got hurt because I saw that he got hurt. He got hurt on the football field, but they're saying that Ryan Fitzpatrick had to have been hurt because he looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick
It's
before he got
not
hurt.
they're saying, it's a caller to Washington radio that has now been turned into a national story because people think it sounds true that they saw. The reporting on this is bearded, soaked Ryan Fitzpatrick, trailed by 7 kids, limping from the fast flume.
They saw him limping around the park. And if you've been on that fast flume, it could happen.
You want to believe that this is true. And so we're making it true, whether, again, the reporting is shoddy.
It's an interesting conspiracy theory. I'm thinking we should give it a name. How does Watergate sound?
I like it. Yes.
Oh,
excellent.
It's not good when Greg's the only person who thinks a joke is funny.
No,
it's just not good.
Is that your 4th today?
yeah.
It's like my 10th this week and it's Tuesday.
No, Watergate is better than what I had, which is they should rename it the Washington Flume Ball Team.
I like that, actually.
Thank you. The Washington Flume Ball Team. WFT.
Because like football starts with an F.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to say it again.
Thank you.
There's no question about it.
But no one
there's
knows
been
how.
any fossils of them. Well, we can theorize because of how modern day reptiles and birds have sex. It's probably very similar.
I was reading how it was hard to even tell some of the fossils if they were male or female because you couldn't tell because obviously there's no organs. There's just the bone structure.
That is true, but a lot of animals, have os penises, so they have bones in their penises, which gives away the fact that they are a male.
Is that why they call it a boner?
That might be a good theory there, Jessica. I mean,
How would a
Here we go.
Stegosaurus get it on?
Mount from behind.
But they got spikes?
Yeah, they got spikes, but the spikes only come to the front of the horns, right? The Stegosaurus got the horn. The spikes in the tail could go to the right. It's like people say, how do porcupines have sex? Well, when they want to, they move their quills to the side, and they, in fact, make a bed for the male porcupine to get up. Now, before the male porcupine mounts her to find out if she's interested, he will usually stand up on his hind legs and urinate all over her. That is something that if she is in the mood, she'll find that quite erotic, and then she'll turn around and part her quills, and the male will then mount her without being pierced by the quills.
So
Baby.
I have a question. If a porcupine's coming towards me, could I defend myself by peeing on it?
No, that wouldn't work, Billy. The peeing is a way for the male to find out if the female's interested in him. It's not a way to fend off an attack.
The old golden shower is what you're saying.
Thank you.
You were going to go to
Hammer. Thank you.
Billy didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, subtlety, always a gift that you possess that none of us could possibly understand or
make sure
command.
Billy understood. That's
how do
all.
pterodactyls? How did they have sex?
Well, pterodactyls will be the same as most other birds. They probably the male would mount the female, kind of balance himself on top of her, and then bring his tail underneath her. And it's with bird sex and any kind of flying animal sex, it's very, very quick, literally seconds. If that. You'd be familiar with that, Stugotz. So this is what happens. And then what happens is just a quick meeting, and then he loses his balance and falls off. So it's just a meeting of the cloaca. Understand that in reptiles and birds, a lot of them, it's not necessarily, well, most reptiles, yes, but birds don't have internal copulation. It's basically meeting the cloacas together, and the sperm finds its way into the cloaca of the female. So that would be the same thing with pterodactyls. The male would mount. It wouldn't be in flight. I doubt very much it would be in flight, but the pterodactyl would mount the female, put his tail, and kind of balance himself with his wings out like this, and then connects. 2 seconds, boom, it's done. And that's all it needs for the sperm to connect.
Ron, I heard yesterday that the world's first known poisonous bird was found somewhere. It was called the Hooded Pitui. Wow. Can you tell us about that finding?
Yeah, I heard something about that too. I don't know many details. Probably the proper term is not necessarily poisonous, but venomous. And I think that, the difference is poisonous is something like if you touch it and then put it in your mouth, that's a poison. But venomous would be something that can actually inject the venom. And what I'm understanding from this bird, it could peck you or it could claw you and inject venom in one way or another. That would make it more venomous than poisonous. But I don't know the details of it, but I did hear something through some threads that I was looking at about this venomous bird.
Ron, I was talking to my dad, and he brought up a good question that I hadn't considered. Where are pigeons' natural habitat? And could pigeons survive if it weren't for humans? Because you never go to a forest and oh, this is native to pigeons here. You just kind of see pigeons around cities, and they're just eating scraps that people leave behind. So, one, if there were no humans, how would pigeons survive? And two, where are pigeons from?
Pigeons/doves originated from Asia. And there are many, many beautiful, ornate pigeons and doves found in the forests of Asia and other places in the natural areas of Asia. They, have been domesticated by humans. They've been interbred, where these pigeons are basically crossbreeds of a lot of other animals. But there are different, there's the Victoria crown pigeon. This is a beautiful large pigeon that has this beautiful ornate coloration of feathering on the top of its head. There's the bleeding heart doves. There are doves that have a white chest that have bright red, looks like they got shot in the chest where their heart is bleeding out. So all of these animals were easily domesticated, kept under human care, the crossbred, and then you come up with these pigeons that basically are, a reflection of man's domestication and hand raising.
Ron, Mochica,
they would be able to survive.
Ron, Mochica, one of the oldest penguins in the world, just died at the Portland Zoo at age 31. And I'm wondering, what is the animal at Zoo Miami that has most outlived its expected longevity?
Oh, wow. Well, we've had a couple of them. I think the first one, who since passed away, his name was Fang. He was a white-handed gibbon, a type of lesser ape. Anybody who's come to the zoo, you'll see them. They kind of swing next to the Siamese. The Siamese are the ones that are going to go, those are the Siamese. But then the gibbons are the ones that go, ooh, 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 like that. Our male gibbon, Fang, was the oldest gibbon under human care and believed in the world at the time of his death at 44 years old. This is an animal that rarely lives past 25 to 30. Not only at 44 did he die, I think it was 45 that he died. At 43, he was still producing offspring. He was still doing the wild thing at 43, which is analogous to some 95-year-old making babies.
Same age as Tom Brady.
Can you tell us more about this rabies thing that you were covering?
Yeah, a fox was diagnosed with having rabies in Weston. Rabies is a very dangerous virus. It can be fatal to all mammals, including humans. It's something that turns up every now and then, usually during stressful times, during droughts, or when there's a lot of construction in a natural area, natural habitats are being destroyed, and the animals that live there, their immune systems are lowered and they get infected with rabies. But, rabies is commonly associated with things like foxes, raccoons, bats especially, and of course, domestic cats and dogs. And now coyotes are an additional threat of rabies, since they've come down into our South Florida environment and are pretty prevalent now. It's something that if you're not vaccinated, and that's, the greatest advice I can give to anyone is make sure your pets are vaccinated for rabies. If your pets are vaccinated for rabies, that puts a big wall up on the spread of this. But for the wild animals like foxes and raccoons, the symptoms they showed tend to be looking very disoriented. They may look like they're drunk. They may look like they're salivating. They also sometimes can be very, very aggressive. But on the flip side, they may seem to be very, very like, oh my God, I want to be your friend, and come walking up to a human where they normally would be afraid. The bottom line is any abnormal behavior in an animal could be a sign of rabies. And rabies can be caught by any mammal. Now, some mammals are less prevalent. Some things like possums, which have a higher normal body temperature, seem to have a greater resistance to it, but it doesn't mean that they're immune to it. So once you have rabies in a neighborhood like Weston, which is a very affluent neighborhood, people walking around their pets, the thing I can tell you is do not let your pets free roam in the neighborhood, and have them on a leash and try to walk them during daylight hours, when you're not going to come across a lot of these animals that tend to be more active in the nighttime. And having said that, if you see a possum at noon walking in the middle of your street, that's a red flag.
Are rabies something that create for the animal an existence, that it's trapped in its own body and suffering just because it's being altered by something from the inside?
It's certainly yes, an animal trapped in it's a neurological disease. It affects the brain. And yes, the animal becomes a prisoner in its own body, disoriented, aggressive, salivating, having convulsions. It's a horrific, horrific disease as it runs its course until the animal eventually dies. It is not a treatable disease once an animal has it. It is fatal.
How does it work? Can you explain to me? Because I've heard rabies all my life, but I don't really understand rabies.
I wish I could, Dan. I'm not a veterinarian, contrary to what you guys say. I'm not a doctor. I know it's a neurological disease. It affects the neurologic of the brain, and just basically leads to death. But I don't know the exact steps to which that happens.
Forgive this, because I'm not doing it to make fun of you, even though I love mentioning it because it's funny. But you care so much about the animals that you did a mating dance for a bird to get the bird scientifically to produce a specimen that you needed for science. What was the name of the species of bird? How big a bird was that? Because I was trying to tell somebody this story the other day, and I couldn't remember the name of the bird because it's a physically...
It was a sandhill crane. A sandhill crane. And this was something that was being done in conjunction with the whooping crane breeding program. And the sandhill crane has a dance. Birds, generally speaking, do a courtship dance to each other that basically indicates to each other that, yes, you are my mate, and that dance is turning me on. And that will tell the mate whether they're doing the dance well or not, and then cause the mate to want to reproduce. We had a male sandhill crane up at the University of Florida that was actually imprinted on people. In other words, when it hatched out of an egg, it hatched out and was artificially incubated by people. We hand raised that bird, and the mistake was that bird imprinted on a person, thinking it is a person. So, like I said before on the show, animals, other than a few select, elephants, dolphins, they don't recognize their reflection. They don't look at a reflection of themselves as a reflection. They look at it as another animal, because that's what they think that they look like. So when a bird hatches out, sees a human being, it thinks that's what it looks like. So then it's going to relate to humans. It's like people who hatch out ducklings out of eggs. You let those ducklings hatch out, they see you first. As you walk around, those ducklings will follow you everywhere, like they follow their mother. So what happened was this bird was imprinted. And when we put it in with a female bird, nothing happened, because he was like, you don't turn me on. I don't care what you're doing. That's not what I look like. So I kind of put on this little outfit and got in front of the bird and started the dance. And I do the dance, and the bird does the dance back to me, and you do the dance back and forth. Listen, it's not terribly unlike what people do. When you're dating, you dance, you kiss, you make out, you go to first base, you go to second base, you get to third base. The objective is to get to home plate. And that was the objective with this dance. Do the dance so well that we can go through first and third and get to home plate. Home plate being when I finally saw the bird to the point of stimulation that I could just position myself as a female, stand still. There's a little collector plate down there at the kind of base of my butt. and the bird would mount me and deposit some of its sperm into that collector's plate as if it was a cloaca, as if it was my cloaca. And then, an assistant would, with a pipette, collect the semen, and we could use that to artificially inseminate a true female bird. But yes, I didn't have to do that. I was willing to do it in an effort to help preserve the species. It's a dedication to conservation that I took it over and bent over like a bird.
Roy, what do you got for Ron?
Ron, some hunters off the coast of the Faroe Islands, which is an island in northern Europe, hunted some white-sided dolphins, a super pod of them, and killed 1,400 people, presumably for food. Now,
1,400 dolphins.
1,400 dolphins is that's a
people,
lot.
Which
I said people?
Yeah, which would have been a tragedy.
Oh, no,
Not that this isn't, but I felt like I would have.
Oh, man.
They're both tragedies, folks.
Dolphins are people
I'm
too.
trying to help. Sorry.
My apologies on that. 1,400 dolphins they killed. How can we justify that many dolphins being killed, even if it was for food?
I got to tell you something, Roy. You can't justify one dolphin being killed. Unless one dolphin is going into a cove full of children and systematically killing children, there is no reason on the face of this earth to go and kill those dolphins. What a lot of these fishermen are doing, they're killing the dolphins because they think the dolphins are out competing them for the fish that they're trying to fish for. Listen, guys, we have to learn to coexist with these animals. There is no valid reason, short of an animal, a dolphin being having an incurable disease or having some type of fatal injury that you want to put it out of its misery. There is no valid reason in my book to ever kill an animal like a dolphin. Never, unless, of course. Now, again, I don't want to come off as some extremist. If I'm starving in the middle of the ocean with my family, and I happen to be able to catch a dolphin, it's the only food I can catch, it's the only way I can feed my family, I'll do it. And I know that the answer to this is going to be the fishermen saying, well, we've got to catch fish, and we can't catch fish if these dolphins are eating all of our fish. You don't kill 1,400 dolphins.
Ron,
Be better fishermen. Damn it.
Ron, we were having a discussion back here in the shipping container about cutting your fingernails, and people bite them, people rip them off. And I was thinking, monkeys have fingernails like we do, correct?
That's correct.
How do they cut their fingernails, or do you guys cut them for them?
No, we don't cut them. Generally speaking, most primates use those fingernails for digging into things. They're constantly, naturally grinding them down. Having said that, I have seen some primates that, in fact, do bite their fingernails and their toenails, which is kind of gross. But I have seen a few individuals do that. But generally speaking, most of these animals naturally just keep them grinded down just from scratching on the rocks, scratching on the wood, climbing, doing the things that they normally do in everyday life.
Ron, you were late today because you were in a procedure. You often are. Anything interesting from that procedure today? What were you working on?
You guys can see me on TV. I'm soaking wet. We were out there. We had to immobilize a tapir. For those who don't know what a tapir is, it's like a cross. It's a distant relative of the horse and the rhinoceros. It's got a long kind of trumpet-like snout on it, weighs 600 to 800 pounds. This tapir had a really bad tooth infection, so we had to immobilize the tapir, and we had a dental specialist come in to extract that tooth to prevent infection from getting into the jaw and causing more serious problems. But of course, you have to immobilize, anesthetize the animal. Then it just started to pour and rain on us all outside. We didn't bring the animals too big to bring into the hospital. So I got soaking wet, the equipment's there, but we were able to successfully extract that tooth. And here I am speaking to you, soaking wet, full with some tapir blood on my pants, but everything's good.
Just a normal Tuesday for Ron Miguel. Ron, I just started watching Secrets of the Whales on Disney+. This is a Nat Geo production. I don't know if you've seen it. It's brilliant to watch, especially in sparkling 4K. But the first episode, an orca got caught in a fishing line, and some Nat Geo camera people cut off the rope. Now, it's a very humane thing to do, but you've also, on this show, said you got to let nature take its course. Would you interfere in that instance?
I would absolutely interfere, because that's not nature when human beings throw crap in the ocean to wrap up animals. That's not nature.
He is angry at the end of his segment.
No, because that is not nature. You understand the difference? Nature would be, listen, if another animal is attacking it and feeding on it, I'm not going to try to protect it. That's nature. When a human-infused rope in an ocean is killing an animal, it should never have come across that rope. That's not nature.
I've also read an interesting story that now a main predator of the moose is orca. Orcas are killing moose. What's a plural of moose?
Moose, I think. Not mooses. It's moose. There are a million moose.
Daryl Johnston.
Jeez.
I thought
Moose
you
are
were
having
gonna.
a hard time
I thought he
now,
was
guys.
gonna
Mike
go.
Mussina?
I thought he was gonna go Mussina there. Is what I thought he was gonna do. Ron, a guy.
So many mooses.
A guy just he was trying to escape Russia and he swam 23 hours to Japan. I can't even imagine the desperation in doing something like that. And during the night when he was doing it, one of the things that he was very afraid of was killer whales. Are there examples of killer whales killing human beings? Because I've not heard of that.
I don't know of any, Dan. I do know of people swimming where there are killer whales, and I am a prime example. I was in the Galapagos Islands doing a documentary with sea turtles, photographing sea turtles. I was down under the water photographing these sea turtles, and all of a sudden a big shadow came over my head. I looked up. It was a killer whale swimming over my head in the Galapagos Islands. And it was one of the most exciting moments of my life. It's one of those things where, Dan, my favorite saying in the world is life is not measured by the number of breaths that we take. It's measured by the number of times your breath is taken away. And that was one of those moments. This killer whale swam over and I went, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. I didn't think for one moment it was going to come after me. It didn't. It paused, it looked at me and just kept on swimming. So people just need to learn to understand and appreciate animals. If you don't pose a threat to them, that's not to say that a killer whale could not attack a human being if it were hungry. But generally speaking, listen, guys, it depends on the situation you're in. If you're starving, okay? If you are starving, and you see a dead animal on the street that's been hit by a car, but you're starving, and that's the only way you can get food, you're about to pass out, you might eat that food. If you just had a wonderful dinner at a fancy 5-star restaurant and you saw a dead animal on the street, you might go, gross, disgusting, I don't want anything to do with that. So you got to put things in perspective. If we keep the web of life healthy, the food chain healthy, animals are going to go after their natural food sources. They won't have to be desperate and go after disgusting things to eat like human beings.
Ron, please put your list together here. I will filibuster for a moment as you gather because it's unfair to do this to you on a moment's notice. But I want the top 5 moments in reverse order of Ron McGill by his life principle philosophy, where he had his breath taken away because of an animal encounter. You have many more than 5. You've told some of these stories before, but I want them all in one place for the audience. We're going to go from 5 to 1.
I love how excited he gets. He's in the water, looks up, sees a killer whale. Do you know how nervous we would be?
Stugotz, one of the great things, Ron McGill is very much a modern day Tarzan. I've seen him at the zoo talking to the animals. He's doing things like this every day, coming in sweaty and bloody because a giant animal has a toothache and no one else is going to take its tooth out other than his staff. And that has to be done and learned. But we tell you again and again that if you care about the animals and you want a direct pipeline to helping the animals, you can do so through Ron McGill and his endowment, because that money goes strictly to the places. It doesn't get locked up in bureaucracy. It goes strictly to help the animals, and he cares about the animals very deeply. So with that as filibuster, Ron, are you ready? Number 5, the 5th.
Number 5, walking through ruins in India, turning the corner under an arch, and all of a sudden, right in front of me, a cobra just goes right in front of my face. Just right in front of my face. It was just fantastic. Fantastic. Number 5.
Fantastic.
Number 4.
Wait, so you weren't scared? The cobra, it does the whole back spreading out thing. And,
oh, yeah. And hisses. They go.
And you were not scared?
They try to make themselves look large and scare you. Most people, it works very well. Me, I was like, oh, look at this. This is a flipping cobra. This is fantastic. Okay. That was a great moment.
How
In
close?
India,
How close were you?
8 feet, 5 feet.
That animal could kill you, correct?
It could if it bit me, but it wasn't interested in biting me. It was just interested in scaring me away so it wouldn't have to bite me. Now, if I tried to grab it, it would bite me. But I kept my ground. I looked at it. I literally bent down and took a photograph of it. I'll send you guys the picture that I took of it when I got down on the ground to take a picture. And this cobra's probably looking at me going, why isn't this guy going away? But it stayed there, and I got a great picture. And it was one of those moments that you just never forget. It took my breath away.
Marion Cobretti will kill you with a matchstick.
I thought you were going to go Dave Parker there. Number 4.
Number 4, walking through a camp in South Africa, in Sabi Sands. And as we're walking into the camp around what they call a boma, a bull elephant came in and charged. I mean, just charged. Ears out, came right along and just, with our ears charging and flopping. And I remember, and I know I've said this on the show many times, but especially with bull elephants, you never turn and run. And I did basically the hay bear thing. I put my hands over, hey, elephant, Hey, like that elephant.
You did it.
12,000 pounds of elephant just stopped in his tracks, shook his head, and flopped his ears, made a lot of noise, flopping his trunk. And I just went, hey, elephant. Hey, elephant. Meanwhile, but that elephant just kind of stopped and then backed off and walked away. That's all it took. False hope. And I learned that from all the guides I'd worked with and all the experts I'd worked with, and that male elephants especially. Now, if it was a female, I could have been in real trouble. But realizing it was a bull who was just trying to, sow his oats, that he was just shocked that I didn't run and he just backed away.
I don't know
Number
about
3 is
that.
going to have to be that killer whale. That killer whale experience for me was just, unbelievable. You're underwater, you're looking at green sea turtles in these beautiful waters of the Galapagos, and all of a sudden this shadow comes up. You think it's a boat. You look up, it's a freaking killer whale, man. An orca is swimming over you. An orca that feeds on seals and sea lions. And you look up and you think, oh my God, it's going to think I'm a sea lion. But it didn't. It just looked at me and realized, because the waters were so clear and everything, that's not a sea lion. I don't want to eat that. And I'm going to continue on. But what a moment. What a memory, man. What a memory. All right.
Hold on, Ron. Just slow down. Billy, I missed a stray I don't know about that from you. What were you
Oh, did I say that out loud?
What were you questioning Ron McGill about that you don't know about that?
Scared off an elephant, just saying hair elephant. I don't know.
Here bear is he did the here bear thing.
Yeah, I
Hey,
don't
bear.
know.
Hey, bear. Hey, elephant. Hey,
And that-
elephant. Put your hands up. Do not turn and run. And I'm telling you, that's how you deal with male elephants, especially young male elephants. We call them punks because they try to see how much they can get away with. But you never turn and run. I'm telling people who are listening to this program, I know there's some people here who've worked with elephants, know about elephants. They're going to write in and go, he's right. You can't turn and run. You're never going to outrun it. Okay? Put your hands up.
Number 2, Ron. I'm sorry I made hey bear, here bear. That's a totally different thing. Is that number 2 or are we on number 1? What number are we
We're
on?
on number 2. We're on number 2 right now.
Number 2.
Hey, Bear's a Saints quarterback.
No. Number 2, walking through the Virunga volcanoes in Rwanda, looking for mountain gorillas. And then with my guide, I'm not seeing him. We're going through this dense forest, very thick leaves, literally a fog, a mist, like gorillas in the mist. You hear these great sounds of birds and different insects in the forest. And you think, God, I wonder where these gorillas are, man. And all of a sudden, my guide grabs my hand and he goes, there. I go, there, where? And I'm looking. And when you look at something and you just kind of see trees, you don't see anything. And then all of a sudden, I look and I see the eye of a gorilla, a big male mountain gorilla, 400 plus pounds of mountain gorilla looking at me. And then I'm sitting there and I just hold my breath. And he goes, do not move. Just stay still. Do not make yourself large. This is the opposite. You do the opposite with a gorilla. You don't want to put your hands up, make yourself look large, and open your eyes. You want to get down in the fetal position, look away from the animal, eliminate any kind of threat, okay? And then all of a sudden, that gorilla took one hand and took a tree that I'm telling you had probably like an 8-inch trunk on it. Think about that, 8-inch, and with one hand, just took that tree and went, whop, and knocked it to the ground, and did one of these things. Comes up and go, and just ran by me. Holy crap, what an adrenaline rush that was. Let me tell you something. No, I'm serious. This was huge. This was such a rush because this gorilla just got up and just did that thing where he knocked down the branch, looked at me, and I just stayed perfectly still, and I just went, and ran by me, swashing a branch the whole time to try to make as much noise as it could. And it was fantastic, guys. Didn't touch me. Went probably about, maybe 5-6 feet in front of me as he ran by me. But man, what a rush, guys. You never feel more alive than when you think you're coming close to dying. That's when you feel the most alive, I'm telling you.
Ron, how are we supposed to know which animals we're supposed to get big in front of and which we're supposed to get small in front of? Because, if you told me elephant, I would think be a little mouse. I'd be tiny like a mouse because mice scare elephants, but I have to be big. Elephant.
Billy, I've been doing this for 40 plus years. I would be the same like me asking you, how are you supposed to know whose batting average is playing on this freaking team and who's in first place and who won the Super Bowl then? I don't know that stuff, okay? We all know what we love. That's all it is. Okay, I don't know. I put it this way. I don't know a lot more than I do know about animals. Okay, are we ready for number 1 now?
Yes, number 1. Can't wait. They've all been great.
Okay, number 1 was a time that I generally probably was a little bit nervous. Again, walking in India in a place called Bandhavgarh, looking for tigers. We find the footprint. It's a pretty fresh footprint, so this tiger's around, and my guide says, he sees us. I go, what do you mean he sees us? We have no gun. We're on foot. We have nothing. He has a machete to cut through forest that we're going through, the bamboo, okay? And I'm thinking, okay, this is a flipping tiger. You know, I mean, I know if a tiger were get out at the zoo, it would kill me. So I'm thinking it's probably the same in the wild. But see, there's a difference because tigers in the wild had, generally speaking, a natural fear of humans. Now, I know some of you guys go, yeah, but there have been tiger attacks. There have been villages where tigers have been killed. Yes, that is the exception as opposed to the rule, okay? Just like there have been cases where domestic dogs have killed people, but that's the exception as opposed to the rule. So we're walking, we see the track, and then we see a fresh mound of feces. I mean, I know it's fresh because I touch it. It was still hot, like right out of the tiger's butt. So I'm touching, I'm going, oh my God, he just did this, okay? So I'm walking through and I'm thinking, he's around. And then this guy said the same thing my African guy did. He goes, there, just like that with a Hindu accent, you know, there. And I go, where? And I'm looking through the bamboo, and this tiger is looking right at us, literally 20 feet in front of us on the ground. There is nothing to stop this tiger from lunging at us and killing us both, right? So I'm on my knees, he's on his knees. I'm just taking pictures. I'm thinking, I'm gonna take pictures of this. If he comes and kills me, I'm gonna keep on shooting. They'll find the camera. Those pictures will make my family a lot of money, and I would have died in a way that people would have talked about for years. And that's what I did. I got down, I'm taking pictures. And all of a sudden the tiger just got up and ran. But he ran away. Didn't run to me, he ran away. He was literally afraid of us.
Why are we not selling that photo, Ron? Why that photo? Why?
No, but that photo's not that great, Dan. It's just you see the eye of the tiger looking through the bamboo. It's not really a great photo unless you know the story. You see, the story is what makes. I had that photo framed in my house because for me, it's a moment that I go, my God, I remember that moment. And my heart starts beating faster when I look at it. The first time a wild tiger is looking at me through bamboo, 20 feet in front of me, nothing stopping it from coming to kill me. And yet it didn't.
Wonderful, Ron. Thank you. Great as always, sir. I don't think you've told most of those stories.
We've done
before.
nothing with our lives, man. I'm serious.
No, he lives a big life right on the edge of death. Thank you, Ron. Good talking to you.
Guys, have a good one. Oh, and I want to publicly thank Jamie Burning for the dentist who's saving these animals. This woman, Jamie Burning, is one of the incredible vets in the world. She flies down here every year from Ohio on her own dime to take care of our animals. Thank you, Jamie. She's a listener to your show.
Thank you, Ron.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, Ron.
Stugotz, it's a funny, weird thing that I find myself involved in that it's very rare that you can actually attack my sports opinions by hurting me in a place where you think you're hurting me by criticizing my team or my guy, right? Usually I occupy a space where if you're coming after me, it's to laugh at me for being wrong. But you can't tie my allegiances emotionally to many people. So when Aaron Rodgers plays well or plays poorly, I hear from a whole lot of people, just because what I've been saying about Aaron Rodgers basically for the last 10 years is I just really admire the craftsmanship of how he does his job. Some of the throws last night, Stugotz, they're just absurd. They're
some of the best throws I've seen him make.
They're absurd throws. So he was terrible in week one. And honest to God, I don't understand football enough to explain it to you. I don't. Beyond saying, man, it's really hard for Mahomes or Rodgers if their offensive line isn't quite right. I'm used to him overcoming just about everything. And I'm never used to him looking like he looked in week one. But how have we not learned anything, Stugotz, whether it's Jameis Winston from week one to week two or the MVP of the league from week one to week two, that we're not just ready to pounce at the earliest sign of that might be done. That might be how this turns, even though there would be not a lot of precedent for Aaron Rodgers looking like he looked in week one, a second consecutive week, because he's never played that poorly.
You had one game. It was a one-game sample. And so, excuse me, it was a one-game sample. And so it's like the rest of his career just evaporated after that one game. And we forget how great Aaron Rodgers is.
What are we doing?
It's what we do.
No, but what are we doing there? Because that seems unreasonable even by the measurements of fandom.
The real criticism, besides me and Billy saying that he was tanking, and we're still not certain he's not tanking, Dan, because you don't want to, you can't oversell the tank. You know what I'm saying? And that was the Lions defense, and the Lions defense make a lot of quarterbacks look good. But really what the conversation was Aaron made the entire offseason about Aaron and wasn't really focused on football. And did that affect his performance and the team's performance in week one? That was really the discussion. You can make an argument that maybe it did. But last
Well,
night,
the result is what's making your argument.
well, the result certainly helps.
It's not like he wasn't trying in week one or ill-prepared or distracted, and then in week two he wasn't any of those things.
Right. Listen, he was 22 of 27. He had 4 touchdowns. He had no interceptions.
Great on third down.
He was amazing.
Which is
he
huge.
is amazing.
It changes everything when you can be great on third down.
If it's Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold coming off a great game, you expect them to fall to the mean and have an off game. You just do. If it's the opposite is true with Aaron Rodgers. I thought the least surprising thing in sports was him coming back and showing everybody. And as he said, getting the trolls off our back. I thought it was very predictable that he was not just good, but Aaron Rodgers great.
You say that, but I ask you this question, Stugotz, because I really am curious about all with these games now on Sundays, because our addiction is such that Red Zone channel goes out and you start itching yourself. These games have gotten to a point where they matter more and more and more. And with that, the coverage and the overanalysis and the hyperventilation around those games happens more and more and faster. And the question I want to ask you is, if you're willing to do that from off-season MVP to first week of the season, is this the decline? Is it going to start looking terrible after this? Then aren't you still doing it at the halftime of last night's game when they're down 17-14 at home and you measure these things with just winning all the time at quarterback? Are you not still, you're telling me it's the most predictable thing in the world, but were you guys predicting it at halftime last night? If you're willing to go down the path of I'm changing my opinion on greatness across a decade and a half from quarter to quarter.
It was 17-14 at half. He was still playing well at the half. The defense was not playing very good, but I will give the announcing crew credit. They were saying this is not what the Green Bay Packers and their fan base expected, to be trailing by 3 to Detroit at home. So the defense played a lot better in the second
half. As an 11.5 point favorite, were you not saying whoever was still doing the questioning after week one was still doing it at the half last night, right? So basically what the MVP of the league buys you is, what's your latest half?
Right.
That's basically where the measurement is on some of this stuff.
Well, Dan, I think a lot of people don't like how Aaron conducted his business in the offseason. So perhaps there's people sitting there wanting, even while he's playing good, wanting that team to get off to an 0-2 start.
Who is second then on the list of people you're rooting against rather? Urban Meyer is this person going away. In fact, it is rare for the NFL to give you one of these treats where everyone's like, oh, okay. Ego guy wanted to get his money, hasn't lost very much in his life. Mercenary genius. Oh, he's going into the dumpster to suffer. And this, like, we laugh about it, but there's an underlying concern here. Like, his health issues seem to be real. This job seems to be some sort of weird poison that really affects him because he can't turn his mind off or his obsessions. I've told you before, he keeps trying to get to his family, and this thing keeps calling him, his ego, his identity, whatever this thing is. He's gone away a couple of times with perspective, not just about I've got to get to my family's love. Hey, I might die. I'm having headaches on the sideline. This is uncomfortable for everybody. And now it's Jacksonville and misery, and we're laughing at his pain. That can't help whatever is going on with him mentally. Just the daily energy, even if you're not on social media, even if you're not reading anything and you're avoiding all the temptations, the daily energy of, ooh, everybody's kind of rooting for me to fail.
He's brought that on himself, though. I feel like Urban comes off as this guy, and it seemed like this to me, where he could just glide into the NFL. I'm Urban Meyer. I have Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to make this thing work, even in Jacksonville, where very few have been able to make it work. He gives that off. He gives off, I'm better than you. But in the NFL, you're not. I'm sorry. You're a better salesperson at the college level. You're a better recruiter. That doesn't mean you're a better coach.
You might be better, but that's not how you're going to be better. You're going to be one of these whiz kid guys like Shanahan or something that's got a scheme. You're not going to be better by out dictatoring or out unhappying or out Oklahoma drilling or out toughing teams in a salary cap sport. But I'm asking you guys, who's number 2 on this list of like Saban's every weekend, right?
I've grown to respect Saban. I don't want him to go away.
I was going to say, you're going to get some begrudging respect that Saban has really clawed out of you, where you're like, I'm going to keep rooting against him, and I'm going to keep feeling bad on my weekends because most of the time he's not going to lose because he's kind of great at his job. But who's number 2? Not football weekend. In the pros, are people rooting against Aaron Rodgers because they don't like the thing that Stugotz is saying here, how he conducted his business.
I think there are some people probably rooting for the Packers and Aaron Rodgers to have a bad season. Yeah.
Is there anyone else you're rooting against is what I'm asking you guys.
I think Belichick is somebody. I think there were a lot of people last year that loved, not so much that Tom Brady was succeeding elsewhere, but that Belichick was finally failing and being mortal and having his first losing season in 20 years.
This is the thing about this to me, though, that's so fascinating. Can we close the book on who's the most important piece and what's the most important position piece? Like, I feel like that season, last season, closes the book. The way
ended it,
the way
yes.
you can legitimately ask the question right now with what you're seeing. Oh shit! Did Belichick kind of fail Brady the last 3 years by not actually going out and getting some of these guys? They tried to get Antonio Brown, but did he actually fail where he's making Brady look spent at the end because he's throwing pick sixes in a playoff game at home against Tennessee that they're losing?
You got to question Belichick a little bit. He wanted to go with Garoppolo like 7 years ago, Dan. I mean,
but I'm not even talking about the questioning of Belichick. I'm just saying, can we put it to rest
Yes, of course.
on when this Urban Meyer savior comes in, that he's got to be, that Trevor Lawrence better be Brady if that's going to happen.
Right.
And Trevor Lawrence might be Brady, but we're not going to see that if he becomes Brady, which sounds absurd because I don't think we'll ever see that again. It's going to take 2 or 3 seasons, and I don't know if Urban's willing to wait that out.
I'm going to relax on the failing Tom Brady when they won 2 Super Bowls in his final 3 seasons there.
I'm talking about the last year, though, and what he was frustrated by offensively, where he was clearly frustrated by the thing, like something drove Brady out of that. Are we not to assume that that's not where the disconnect was? That Brady thought he still had this in him and Belichick did not.
Brady knew it. I think 2 things drove Brady away. I think that he was just tired of the Patriot way and wanted to show some personality and go on Howard Stern and be able to throw the Lombardi from boat to boat after he won a Super Bowl. And I think what you just pointed out, the fact that Belichick was unwilling to still invest in an offense with Tom Brady as his quarterback, and Brady clearly has more to give.
That would be hurtful, but I feel like instead of doing the conversation, because I really am asking you guys, I don't care who wins between Brady and Belichick, although that seems to be fairly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, where can we put to rest the place where we started on the Urban Meyer conversation, that paying someone to come in and try and win in the margins in a salary cap sport where a lot of people are super even, paying the golden boy savior to do that,
right?
You're not going to actually be buying yourself much of an advantage. Like, maybe you can win if Trevor Lawrence is great, but the advantage that you're buying yourself at $10 million a year, can we not close that now? Because Belichick, as soon as Brady left, what you saw was a losing season. The Patriots might fix all of that, and Mac Jones might become something that is special, and he looks pretty poised at the beginning, but we've been able to laugh for a year at Bill Belichick feeling like a loser for the first time since like the Cleveland days.
I don't think it's over. It's infuriating that Eric Bieniemy cannot get a job and Urban Meyer just strolls in and gets the Jacksonville job. But Dan, I guarantee you, the next time Lincoln Riley, the perfect example, when he decides to go to the NFL, someone's going to bite.
But at least
someone's
he's got but at least he's got scheme. Like, we made fun of whatever it was
true.
That Kingsbury. We made fun of this, right? Like, we made fun of Cliff Kingsbury failing his way. I don't know what he was, like 20. What was he? 20 and 21, or
I'll check it.
It was basically a 500 record in very few seasons at Texas Tech. Parlays that
with
into
Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes.
Yes,
it's an important part of it.
It is important. So he goes to Arizona, and it would appear that because they were able to, I don't know, is it Donnie Deutsch who says, as philosophically, hire slowly but fire fast? They did something nobody does. They got rid of they're like, nope, never mind about our investment in this first round quarterback. We're going to go get another first round quarterback. He's going to be small. He's going to be super tiny. I'm going to go against the measurements. And Kingsbury, if he ties himself to that quarterback, that guy might get 10 years in the pros if that team stays healthy.
He was 35 and 40 at Texas Tech.
Wow.
35 and 40.
5 games under. But is that not the way it's going, is my point. That if you're going to get one of these guys who can actually change things for you, The way to win in the margins is not big CEO who's going to be all powerful and change the culture like Urban Meyer. Do you have a schemer? Do you have a Shanahan? We didn't know anything. We did. McVay showed us, didn't he? Like, we're just watching football and you're like, oh, that looks different than what everybody else is doing. That looks a bit smarter. They are doing things that confuse people with a quarterback who's not very good.
And Kyle Shanahan is kind of taking it to a whole different level where he has 17 running backs and they're all good. It's a system. It's not the running back. I think there is something to a coach who has a system and one that's going to work in the NFL.
It seems pretty obvious that Jacksonville, a nothing team, under the radar, begging for attention. They finally get the overall number 1 draft pick, and they want to twin that off with a celebrity coach, a big name coach. I mean, Urban Meyer, for whatever he is or isn't, is a big name coach, and
especially there, Greg.
Yeah, especially there. That's what I mean. Jacksonville, you could argue they were 32nd of 32 teams in terms of national importance and attention, and all of a sudden, for better or worse, they have the attention. They have Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer, who have failed early. And now let's see if they continue to fail.
Is it good attention, though? Because I'm with Dan. I feel like people are rooting for them to fail because of Urban Meyer.
How good does Jalen Ramsey feel right now about getting out of all of that? You think that dude wants to be playing for Urban Meyer when he can be out in L.A. instead of in Jacksonville? He can be out in L.A. waving to the crowd and being left alone by his young coach.
What an upgrade.
Oh, my God.
Jalen Ramsey. Mike, God, it seems like a million years ago. It was before the pandemic. Jalen Ramsey showing up at camp. Was it a Brinks truck?
Yeah.
This landing with Tom Coughlin coming out of, and he was shooting a commercial or a video around him coming out about being paid. Tom Coughlin gone, replaced by the next dictator savior guy who's yelling at people a lot. And Jalen Ramsey's like, I'm in LA. That team's going to be good, right? That team is simply going to be good. Unless what happens to San Francisco. Like, the only reason San Francisco wasn't good last year is because everybody got hurt. They got more people hurt than anybody in the league. More important people than anybody in the league.
Yep.
Stafford does have an injury history.
That's the only way it can happen, though, correct?
Well, that division's also, you got the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers all in that same division.
It's a great division.
Like, they might be good, Dan, but they also might not make the playoffs. Those 4 teams are all really good. I mean,
but we're assuming that they're going to be good, are we not? We are assuming that the Rams, that Matthew Stafford, that all we're doing there is saying that Stafford with the Lions are going to lion, and that Stafford's going to go over here. And we are trusting, to my point about what we're talking about, instead of Urban Meyer, I'm going to cleanse our culture with rah-rah. Put him with a guy who can scheme and can make what we know to be an above-average quarterback better, because he did it with a deeply below-average quarterback. The Jared Goff he inherited, their biggest mistake with the Rams was extending him, was giving him all of that money because
he got to a Super Bowl.
But we're taking away the bona fides in terms of scheme from Urban Meyer now that he's in the pros, because I'm not exactly sure what we're doing there. He's forgotten how to scheme well because his offense was innovative.
Maybe it's a good college scheme and a scheme that doesn't work.
So many people copied it in the pros.
No, that's not. It's not. This is 2 games, and you have to have the players. I am looking at what it is, and you correct me because you say Stefanski is doing this with the Browns. The Browns do look, Stugotz, we saw what Jarvis Landry looked like in Miami. It was 3 yards at a time. Like it was, we watched that for years of Jarvis Landry being making catches that were a CVS receipt long.
But the most impressive thing about Stefanski's scheme, it's kind of like Shanahan. It's the running scheme.
But there aren't many. It's not kind of like Shanahan. It is.
Yeah.
These are all variants of Mike Shanahan's offense in Denver.
No, but Cleveland's doing it with the best running back better than Terrell Davis. This is the best running back to ever run in that system. You can make the argument that running back that there's never
He's
been
so good,
that
Nick
there's
Chubb.
never been. So they've got both, right? That's why that offense looks that way. But the thing I'm asking you is how many more teams are like that where you're watching it and you're like, oh, this scheming is precise. They're confused on defense. These people, I'm not watching many Sundays where I'm not an expert. I'm not breaking down film. I'm feeling in the texture of the game, one of these offenses looks a little bit different than everything. Shanahan looked like that in Atlanta, Stugotz. That's how it looked in Atlanta.
I think LaFleur has some of that. Even Aaron Rodgers last night was crediting him with just making the right calls, right time, scheme. The offensive game plan headed into the game was perfect. So maybe he's one of those guys as well. Aaron's never had a problem with him, at least not that I know of. It's always been upper management, right?
I don't think that is accurate, but you might want to check in with a Washington radio caller to find out whether or not that's accurate, or just the internet, because I think there have been a lot of reported problems between.
Aaron's had several opportunities to be like, no, we're totally cool. And when he does try to do that, kind of feels a little lip servicey.
It's never felt warm, correct? We've never felt like
it felt warm to me last night after the game. It did.
Generally
four
not
touchdowns warm.
Generally not a warm dude, Aaron Rodgers.
This is the way we're doing it, though. Basically, it feels warm when they win by 3 touchdowns. It feels not warm when they lose by 5.
Yes.
All right, very good.
The Southern accent is what makes it feel warm. When he's got the Southern accent, you know he's in a good place.
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper has arrived, talking weirdly, yammering about Heat culture. It's a little strange to hear the Reaper care so much about the Miami Heat's culture. We've got to go to the bucket of death. We've got to go to the grid of death as well. We've got losers and winners every week. It's a suffering around here. Jessica is leaving town, so she's got to do it, and Greg Cody has to do it as well. So let's start with Jessica. First one can be thrown back unless it is instant death, and everything that is second pick is final.
And the lines we use are courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings.
Okay, and our enemies over at DraftKings, all of them. Friends, enemies, everyone at DraftKings, the lines are the same. Let's do this, Jessica. Pull out your first helmet.
Well, first off, you made it sound like I'm running from the police, so I'd like to clarify that that's not the case. I got the underdog helmet.
Oh, wow.
Pick any underdog. You got the Rams are a 1-point favorite. No, they're not an underdog. Let's see what we've
So
got.
you get
here.
the Bucks. You get the Bucks +1.
Yeah,
or you can get the Vikings +2 at home against the Seahawks.
Wait, you can get the Packers +4.
Navy +20.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm picking again.
Yeah.
I don't like any of these.
It's a terrible helmet. There are no
I
good
hate
helmets
the
in
underdog
there.
helmet.
It's a bad helmet.
I literally said last week I don't like this helmet.
There are no good helmets
Oh,
in there.
damn it.
Congratulations.
Texans.
You got
You like
Davis
that
Mills.
helmet?
I could have picked the Bucks +1. What was I doing
Davis
there?
Mills.
Davis Mills on a short week in his first NFL start against the undefeated Carolina Panthers. I
Like
think
it.
that's a downgrade.
Yeah, he threw 18 touchdowns for
sorry.
Stanford in 2 seasons and 8 interceptions, and now he's playing for the Texans.
How did he get drafted?
Texans, an 8-point dog at home. It's one of the biggest lines of the week. The Jets are at the Broncos. That's in a 10.5-point line. Washington is at the Bills. Ravens at the Lions. But that is a very bad helmet.
Is this Greg Cody's first time sticking his hand in the bucket this year?
Yeah, first time sticking his hand in there.
Yes.
All right.
Reaper just clocked the camera. You okay, Reaper?
The Reaper hurt himself. The Reaper smells like Pat Riley's cologne.
Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Who do they got?
They are a 4-point dog on the road against the Cowboys.
And they have to cover or win outright?
They
They have to win outright. That's the way we've played this.
Put that
for
thing
years.
back,
I want
Greg.
another one.
Yeah.
Okay, this second
Smart.
one is final. Greg Cody, look at the big smile on his face. He is so happy. He likes to rummage as well.
Yes, he does.
Fine bucket of death.
Oh, wow. There's money involved now.
Fine bucket.
Wow.
You can
He's
have
gonna like
all-
this.
He is going to like this. We get to bring out the fine bucket that has been here throughout the pandemic. This is it'll be instant death, but you can have every dollar that's
No,
in
it
the
is. It was a second choice. He's stuck with this.
Oh, so he's not even picking this. You are instant death, but you get the money that's in this cup. So how much money does he get?
Whoa.
Yeah, but you
gotta
get
be-
instant death,
This
too.
is hundreds of dollars.
No
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
take that
No,
money.
that's it. There, you
Well,
wanted
you were
pay.
complaining about-
you wanted
you were
payment.
complaining- look, there's
Their
a big
Metal
fat
Arc Media
$100
is
bill.
Oh my
paying you.
God! There's like literally $100 bills there.
$100 bill. This is a big
There's
haul.
hundreds of dollars, yeah.
Greg, that's like 2 years in the making because
Yeah.
we didn't do this last year.
This has been closed for a long time, and that's 2 years of fines. And I got fined $100 for killing someone.
Yeah, there's a $100 bill. Who was this?
I left that much money in the bucket?
I am surprised that some of this has been stolen. This is actually
it was thousands at one point.
Sometimes the dollars get left up here, and Stugotz, I do see that they disappear, and then he blames the people who are cleaning.
So many 20s.
I got my eye on Mike Ryan counting that money. By the way, my eyes
There's
are
at
leaving
least
him.
$500.
I'm over
there.
$400 already.
That's insane.
Congratulations.
Does someone want to
Greg.
tell him the other side of this, though? I mean,
It's just death.
He has to dress in a costume. Wow. Big deal.
you get a
It's
few
a lot of
$100.
money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Congratulations, Greg. Your
Thank
lucky
you.
day.
Covered your parking for the next 2 years, so I
telling
want to
you,
hear
this
it.
is unbelievable.
What a victory today. Greg
is
Cody's
something.
holdout.
Wow.
We still didn't get
Finally gets paid.
the back in my day. Yes.
you.
Congratulations, Greg.
Yes.
You are getting money. That
Wow.
is taxable income.
Boo! Everyone hates that you got this.
Mad. Boo.
Yay, me!
Screw you, Greg.
Yay.
Screw you, Greg.
Screw you!
Hiss. Moo.
Yay, me.